That's what it is.
Okay, we're good. Let's do this. All right. Calling the meeting back to order. Roll call coming back from closed session. Trustee Jacobson.
Here.
Trustee Chavez.
Here.
Trustee Griffin.
Present.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Present.
Trustee Land is here. So tonight we have our Spanish interpreter, Enrique Montaldo. Welcome. Oh. And I have to do this. So we did roll call while I was not on mic, and now we're going to. Tonight we have our Spanish interpreter, Enrique Montaldo. For those who would like to attend the meeting virtually in Spanish, that option is available. Enrique, would you please communicate that for us this evening? Thank you.
Tenemos a nuestro intérprete de español para la reunión de esta noche. Para aquellos de ustedes que quieran asistir a la reunión en español, esta opción está disponible. Gracias.
Gracias también. All right. Added language about closed captioning. If you would like to view closed captions of this meeting, please view the meeting on the San Mateo Union High School District Board meeting YouTube channel. The link to the YouTube channel can be found on our website. You may view the captions in English as we stream live tonight, and you may view the captions in a variety of other languages if you watch the meeting after the meeting has ended. Viewers may request additional accommodations by calling 650-558-2201. For our deaf and hard of hearing community, we have a team from Hannah Interpreting Services, and they will be interpreting our meeting this evening. We would like to ask everyone to speak clear and at a reasonable pace for interpreters. Thank you. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. Superintendent Booker, do you mind?
Not at all. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Actions taken in closed session. In closed session, the board, upon motion of Trustee Jacobson and seconded by Trustee Chavez, moved to approve the special education settlement with a vote of 5-0. In closed session, the board denied 2 liability claims with a vote of 5-0. Public comments. If you are joining us in person and wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during public comment section at the beginning of the agenda, please fill out a request to address the board form. It's blue and it is and submit it to the secretary. This form should be given to the secretary before the agenda item begins. If you are joining us virtually, use the raised hand feature on Zoom to be recognized. When invited to do so by the board president for each item on which you wish to comment, you'll be admitted to speak as a panelist during your public comment period. The board president will call on you. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board president may increase or decrease the time allotted for public comment, depending upon the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. Do we have any right now?
We do, President Land. We have San Mateo County Stonewall Democrats. I will promote you now.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Hello,
Hi there.
everyone. Hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi.
I apologize. I don't know how to change my name on here, but I'm Katie Bush. I'm the co-chair of the Stonewall Democrats. In March and late last year, we sent the board members a letter about how San Mateo Union can help to protect our LGBTQ students. I wanted to say thank you, first of all, to Superintendent Booker for speaking about this, I believe, at the last meeting. He mentioned it briefly. And I wanted to acknowledge all that your school district is already doing. I think the Pride Prom is absolutely amazing. And so thank you all for the time and energy that's gone into that. I also know that, or I believe that you have already flown the Pride flag, and hopefully you have the intention of doing the same again. But, you know, our goal in sending the letter was to give very concrete, you know, action items that school districts could take. You know, your district may already be taking some of them, but to the extent there are others listed in the letter that your district could could start doing, including SOGI trainings, out for safe school programs, things of that nature that would help to protect our LGBTQ students. I just wanted to encourage you to do so. And I think it starts with, agendizing the item and talking through what the district's currently doing and what they could be doing that they're not yet doing. And just, continually working towards making this an inclusive place for our kids, especially in light of all that's going on in the country right now. A lot of kids, and a lot of adults honestly are hurting, and having a school, kind of claim you is really important. And you certainly have done that with the Pride Prom, and just wanted to come and encourage you to keep it going and to look closely at the letter, and hopefully you'll agendize it and speak about it at future meetings. So thank you all for what you do and your public service.
Thank you. All right. Any others?
Yes, we have Carolyn Weiscarver. I will now promote you.
Okay.
You may unmute and begin. Ms. Weiscarver, please unmute. You may begin.
Hi there.
Hello, my name is Caroline Weiscarver, and I have had the honor of teaching at Peninsula High School for the last 7 years. And I'm here to address the potential increased loss of FTE at our school site. Just last year, in January of 2022, I spoke to the board on behalf of our community about the systemic inequities Peninsula continued to face. We implored the board and the superintendents to hear our story in order to make choices that more closely aligned with the equity work the district is currently dedicated to centering. At that time, the superintendent, as well as some board members, acknowledged the discrepancies and began some work to remedy that, which was very much appreciated. However, with the district's commitment to engage in an equity transformation that centers the marginalized, I wonder how removing this amount of FTE from a school such as Peninsula, who proudly serves those very students at the margins, is equity-based or student-centered. At our last district-wide PD, the entire SMUHSD staff was informed of how the DNF list across the district was disproportionately made up of students of color. When looking at the demographic at Peninsula, we currently stand at 93.6% students of color. 70.5% of Peninsula students are socioeconomically disadvantaged, which is nearly 30% more than the next closest comprehensive site. We serve 40.5% English learners, nearly double the next comprehensive site. This indicates a very clear need that Peninsula students have historically been the students at the margins who we say we are dedicated to helping. The need to have qualified, passionate, and dedicated staff who can provide the opportunities, interventions, and support they were unable to access prior to us is necessary to achieve the success spoken about, that everyone graduates and that the needs of our most at-risk students should be met. Removing this amount of FTE from our school will inhibit that and negatively impact this community, as we simply will not be able to continue offering the resources they need most. Personally, being here for 7 years, I have seen Peninsula without consistent staff, without electives, and without these programs that are in jeopardy. I can tell you firsthand, the motivation to come to school decreases. The ability to access the resources and classes needed to graduate decreases. With more teachers taking on more preps, the graduation requirement class offerings decrease. The joy and trust this community has worked so hard to build is in large part due to the current staff and the programs we're able to provide to our students now. Opportunities they have never had before, like leadership and yearbook. Our students deserve that just as much as any other site. Removing any more than the current FTE loss puts Peninsula back in a place where that may become our reality again. And can we say that is centering the students and the marginalized? I implore the board and the superintendents to consider just who will suffer if this decision moves forward. There is already a guaranteed loss of 1.4 FTE at Peninsula this year. We are asking that the board support us with retaining the remaining FTE so that our students have an equitable opportunity to graduate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
Yes, Tiffany Spoyer.
Tiffany, can you hear us?
Tiffany, you may
Hi.
begin.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Tiffany Sport, and I've been a math teacher for 13 years, the last 4 of which I've had the honor of being at Peninsula. I'm here tonight to address the potential loss of 2.4 FTE at our school site. In the March 21st article in Climate Magazine that highlighted alternative school programs, Superintendent Booker said about Middle College and Peninsula, these schools should be the jewels of the district with the best teachers, the best opportunities and programs that meet the academic, social, and wellness needs of the most at-risk kids. And our staff wholeheartedly agrees. It's because of these assets that Peninsula has the highest WASC accreditation in the district. Our students often transfer to Peninsula feeling disenfranchised from their education, and our staff has worked so hard to build robust and thoughtful programming to honor their needs. With a 24% loss, our remaining teachers will be asked to teach 3 to 5 preps across all content areas, meaning we lose our ability to deliver the quality of lessons, the targeted support that our students at Peninsula greatly require and deserve. Before Peninsula, I worked at comprehensive high schools that required me to teach 3 to 4 levels of math in any given school year. As an educator who takes immense pride in the work I do in designing engaging lessons that challenge my students and are appropriately differentiated, I can humbly say that when I was teaching 3, 4 levels of math, I was not able to provide the same quality of lessons, the thoughtful feedback, and the appropriate level of scaffolding that I'm currently able to give my Peninsula students in geometry and integrated math. Next year, every single member of our teaching staff will be teaching upwards of 3 preps, increasing our class sizes and decreasing our quality of instruction. Our students deserve better. We also risk losing many of our extracurricular programs, which include guided studies, yearbook, and leadership. These programs not only support our students' social emotional growth, but they also help our students who come to us from all 6 school sites at various times throughout the school year create shared experiences and build community with one another. Without question, the impact that losing 24% of our staff will have on both our academic and extracurricular programming will jeopardize our students' outcomes. There's already a guaranteed loss of 1.4 FTE at Peninsula High School. We're asking the board to support us with retaining the remaining FTE so that our students have an equitable opportunity to graduate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tiffany Beltran.
Ms. Beltran, are you there? There we go. Hi.
Hello. Good evening, board members, Mr. Booker, and members of the community. My name is Tiffany Beltran, and I've been at Peninsula High School for 4 years and a teacher for 10 years. I'm here to speak this evening about this overstaffing letter and the 2.4 FTE loss that we're currently facing. Even before I started working for PHS, the school, district, and board's mission and vision was to serve our students, especially supporting our most marginalized students. Peninsula High School students should be at the center of this mission and vision. In March of this year, we received an overstaffing letter indicating a 2.0 FTE loss of teaching staff. That meant that we would lose 2 out of 10 teachers, or in other words, 20% of our teachers. This loss is detrimental to the functioning of our school, and it would be unheard of at any other school, whether it be a comprehensive or small school. It's even more shocking when the narrative is that SMUHSD hires and retains the highest quality teaching staff of the Bay Area. Is that what we're doing at PHS? The 20% loss would be detrimental to our school in multiple ways. All of the remaining teachers would have a minimum of 3 class preps, with others having 4 or 5, depending on their content area. Class sizes would increase tremendously, with many at max capacity, which is highly problematic in math and English. These are the 2 content areas that historically marginalized students need the most support and credit recovery in. Students would not be able to receive quality lessons, quality or timely feedback, or individualized support. Some of these class sizes would end up being larger than comprehensive school site classes. We have ran the numbers and looked at potential master schedules multiple times. None of these outcomes serve in the best interest of our students. Fast forward to this Tuesday, 2 days ago, we are now suddenly facing a loss of 2.4 FTE, or a 24% loss. That means we're losing 3 out of 10 teachers. This is more than what was indicated on the March overstaffing letter. There was no justification or reasoning provided for the additional 0.4, just that the additional teacher being cut would hear from the new school in a few days. This process has been grueling, problematic, and clearly not in the best interest of our students. Whether it is 2.0 FTE or 2.4 FTE, we will be losing numerous sections of classes that are graduation requirements. This will make it even more difficult to recover credits and graduate, which works counter to the goal of supporting every student in SMUHSD to graduate. The programs that we would lose were even recently highlighted in videos put together by Laura Chalkley and the communications team. As we stand, there's already a guaranteed loss of 1.4 FTE. We are asking that the board support us with retaining the current teaching staff so that our students have an equitable opportunity to graduate. Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Do we-
have two more virtual, President Land.
Okay.
Leo O, I'm now promoting you.
Leo, can you hear us?
Leo, can you unmute?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Leo, and I'm a student at Peninsula High School. And I'm here to talk about the loss of teachers and programs. It would hurt the school if we got rid of teachers, because that means that the remaining teachers would have to take on other classes, more classes, which means that there would be less sections of graduation requirements that can be offered. And this would make credit recovery and graduation even harder for us students. Also, this means that we will be getting rid of fun classes like leadership and yearbook. And me, myself, I'm part of a leadership class, and it's probably the most fun class at Peninsula High School. It's honestly the best. I've had the best time there. And classes like that help us students connect more, and like we build more of a community because we work a lot together. And I built a lot of good relationships and friendships because of leadership class. And even with the chance to return back to my comp site, I chose to stay at Peninsula High School because of the relationships I have with my teachers. The teachers there are supportive and they're nice and they actually get to know you. And at my other school, I did not have that. Like also, as soon as I went to Peninsula High School, they talked to me about college and all of that. And at my old school, they never even mentioned that to me or nothing. So I feel like the Peninsula teachers were more supportive. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
Okay, our last virtual, James Abada. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name.
James, can you hear us? Don't forget to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, my name is James Abeda, and I'm the campus safety specialist at Peninsula High School. I've been on campus for about a year now with this tight-knit community where every student had such a special bond with a teacher or staff member. A big part of my job is to ensure the student and staff safety, maintaining a safe environment for everyone. More adults and staff on campus is a great help. But on top of that, the relationship the students have with our staff helps even more. I see how the students' faces light up every day when they see the people they trust. Our students have already been removed from their previous school and comfort zone. So to remove any more of their trusted adults is harmful. Even just bringing it to the students' attention today that we're losing teachers, and to see the heartbreak and disappointment was telling. So many of them wanted to speak up to the community, but were unable to because of their work schedule outside of school. Our student Naya wanted me to pass along a message. They said, please don't take our teachers. It would hurt our school environment because we have built connection with these teachers. Peninsula feels understaffed, but the community is large. And if you take that away, it would negatively affect us. So thank you, Naya, for that. So for our students who are in need of these positive relationships the most, I'm asking the board to support us and reconsider the loss of more Peninsula teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, James. We have one more.
Elaine, I'm sorry, Elaine, I don't want to mispronounce your last name. You can unmute and begin, Elaine.
Thank you. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Awesome. My name is Elaine Yaguno, and I'm proud to say that I've been a part of the Puma family of Peninsula High School for 13 years as their school counselor, counseling department chair, and now MTSS co-coordinator. I'm here with some of my fellow Pumas to stand in solidarity to ask for the board's support in interrupting the process to reduce our FTEs for the 2023-24 school year. The pandemic has impacted students' ability to be prepared for the rigor of a comprehensive high school. With the AB 104 being lifted and the rigor in courses at the comprehensive sites increasing their standards and expectations from remote learning standards, the data reflects that there are an increasing number of students failing classes each semester, leading them to be behind in credits. Peninsula is prepared to receive students that become behind in credits so that they have the opportunity to earn their diplomas on time. Decreasing the number of sections on our master schedule will result in decreasing the number of students PHS is able to serve each year. This can lead to a decline in graduation rates at comprehensive sites and the district as a whole. Just as a former parent of PHS mentioned in our board presentation in 2021, Peninsula is the district's best kept secret, encouraging the board and the district to change the narrative of who Peninsula is, so more students and families will be proud to transition to Peninsula for a fresh start and a chance to change the trajectory of their futures. As an MTSS coordinator throughout the school year, we gather data from all stakeholders to identify ways for our limited faculty and staff to utilize their dynamic talents and expertise within our multiple tiered system of support. The data reflects the need for students to have more access to Tier 1 socio-emotional learning content. Reducing FTEs will jeopardize our ability to implement this valuable curriculum, since guided studies classes will need to be replaced with other content courses that students need to satisfy their graduation requirements. Allowing PHS to retain our FTEs will allow for all students to have access to SEL content, which inspires students to be strong self-advocates, makes students feel more connected to the school community, builds positive relationships with peers, and establishes trusting relationships with the adults on campus. In a school that prides itself in being a family, it takes the old adage, it takes a village to raise a child to heart. Losing 24% of our village would significantly impact our students' school community and the school that they call home. We hope this inspires the board to support our Puma family with retaining our FTEs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine. Any more online?
No, that's all, President Lamb.
Okay, I do have one more speaker, and I hope I can't read the writing here. Sorry, Alexandra Dove. Hi, I know you look very familiar. So, right.
Do I need to turn it on, or is it already?
If it's red, it's already on.
All right. Hi, all. Good evening. It's nice to see you all again, to speak again. I just wanted to speak. So I'm a comprehensive teacher. I've been in our district for 15 years, and I am so grateful that we have a program like Peninsula, that we have this wonderful school. And I really want to speak in support of these teachers and all the amazing work that they do. We've had a lot of students from Mills High School that have gone on to Peninsula. I've been fortunate to get to continue to have relationships and see our students and see how they struggled in our comprehensive schools, and yet they found a home, that they found support. They found the things that our comprehensive schools were not able to provide for our students. They found that at Peninsula, and that's because of the special nature of Peninsula, because these teachers are able to provide these additional programs, these additional supports. I've been a guided studies teacher, being able to work with my colleagues at Peninsula and seeing the amazing work that they have done. It truly is fundamental. It really is incredibly important, and it can't be understated. And to cut them is just a serious disservice to these students who are already have experienced so much disservice in a lot of our comprehensive schools and a lot of our societies, et cetera. And Peninsula is really giving them an opportunity. It's giving them choices. As you heard from our students that spoke, Peninsula is giving them something that our other schools were not able to do. And to cut them is taking that opportunity away from them. And it really breaks my heart. I'm very proud to be a part of this district. I love San Mateo. I love my students here. I love all of our students. And one of the things that I'm proudest of is the fact that we truly believe in our students and that we give our students opportunities. And to cut Peninsula funding, to cut these teachers is undercutting that value. And I truly believe in the work that we all do in this room. And I hope that you can take that in consideration to support these students. I also want to say, when we had our professional development days a couple months ago, and Superintendent Booker spoke about the trends, spoke about our 86% of our students that were struggling, and that we needed to do things differently, that Peninsula is leading that fight in doing things differently. And I really want to encourage you and urge you to continue to support them, because undermining them is just going to continue to perpetuate the problems that have persisted. So I really just want to stand in solidarity with my Peninsula colleagues, and I really want to encourage you and urge you to provide them with the funding that they need to do the amazing work to provide these opportunities for these students, because we care about our students and we want them to leave our district with the best opportunities, the best foot forward, and Peninsula is really doing that. And I really encourage you to continue to support them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have one more, but before I do, I just want to remind everyone, since this is not an agendized item, the board cannot discuss this at this time, but we may be able to direct something to the superintendent later in later part of our meeting. So last speaker is Flor. I hope I say this right. Flor Abao. Come on up.
Buenas noches y gracias por darme su tiempo esta noche. Mi nombre es Flora Abad y mi hijo está en el 10º grado de SMUHSD High School. En las noticias hemos visto muchos tiroteos y estoy muy preocupada por la seguridad de nuestras escuelas. El plantel de SMUHSD está abierto y muchos padres nos preocupamos quién entra y sale de la escuela. Es importante como padres que nosotros sabemos qué planes de seguridad tiene la escuela y cómo mejor podemos prevenir una tragedia que pasa en una de nuestras escuelas. Mi propósito es que tengamos más personas de seguridad en el plantel y tener más vigilancia.
So I'm going to translate for her. Gracias. Good night. Good evening, and thank you for giving me some time today. My name is Flora Bott, and my son goes to Hillsdale High School. He is a sophomore there. I'm here tonight to talk about all of the shootings that we've seen on the news, and this brings me to be very worried about the security at all of our high schools. Hillsdale High School is an open campus, and many of the parents that I have spoken to are very concerned about the safety at the school. It's important that as parents, we know what are the plans of security at each of our schools, and how can we better protect and prevent tragedies from happening at our school. I propose that we hire more security at our school and also make sure that there is more vigilance so that these tragedies don't hit home to us. Thank you.
Gracias por su tiempo. No other?
No, we're finished with public comment.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn to governing board comments. Anyone wish to speak? I'll just go down the line. Trustee Jacobson?
I'll be really brief. I know we have a lot of performances coming up at our schools. I just want to give a plug for Night Moves next week at Hillsdale. My daughter will be performing in it, but it's one of the best shows of the year. And it'll be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. Thanks.
I've seen that in the past. Trustee Chavez?
Son move so I can actually look this.
There you
up.
go.
Thanks. I want to Trustee Jacobs. I want to come. I haven't seen the performance before. I'd like to come. Let's see. I want to just highlight on a couple of events I went to recently. On the 17th, I attended the school site council at Cappuccino. I've been part of the school site council there for almost 2 years. I love listening to the student interaction. I think listening to student ideas, what's happening on campus. I think it's a great group. We have staff there as well as students and a couple of parents. And then on the 18th, attended the Bond Citizens Oversight Committee with Mr. Hawkins, CBO. Amazing work there. And then last night we had our amazing, I lost my train of thought. We had our amazing Equity Advisory Committee, which is led by our amazing Dr. Kemke, sitting right next to Mr. Hawkins. That's my report out. Thanks.
Amazing. All right. Trustee Griffin.
2 quick items. One, I attended, and since you guys didn't know, I was on the board of managers for the CCS. I attended a meeting down there. And we actually, one of the things they do, which actually is really nice, they recognize all the champions that were in the CCS. And, you know, they have pictures, they have a big picture, and then they have people, somehow everybody there, which I guess is no surprise because they have all the coaches and ADs and all that. They actually have stories about the various teams. And so Mills girls basketball got recognized.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a nice district moment for me. So, and we also talked about approving their 7.9, I think it's a $7 million budget for athletics administration. And we talked about the seating for playoffs and some of those kind of things to keep competition fair. So lest you not know what I talk about when I'm there.
Touche.
And the other thing, and this is, if you think the last item was dry, this item's even worse. I was talking to Yancey Hawkins, and I took a 2-day class on the state controller's office on the chart of accounts, the new chart of accounts update, the compliance, the new compliance reporting on things like the recovery, what is it, learning loss and transitional kindergarten and all that. So they have a meeting, and they have the CPAs, and they have a lot of people who are actually CBOs and involved in financial reporting, and they kind of preview the state accounting manual. They talk about some of the larger initiatives, and it helps me to have one eyeball on Yancey. That's my report.
And you made it through
Yancey
that.
is very excited
You
about
made
that.
it
I can
through
tell.
Okay, Mr. Griffin. Trustee Griffin, you made it out through okay.
All right. Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Yes, first I want to start with the land acknowledgement that I borrowed from the Cappuccino students. So we acknowledge, thank you. I thought it was too low. And forgive me, I have like a really cracky voice today. So we acknowledge that our campus lies on the ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone. The Ramaytush are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula, whose land was stolen from them and whose native language was lost because of the colonization. As settlers on the stolen land of the peninsula, we should be alongside the Ramaytush, remembering and honoring their ancestors and relatives. We thank the first people, the Ramaytush Ohlone, for taking care of the land we use now for education and activities. Our responsibility of caring for the earth is unique and personal to each of us, but should be rooted in allyship with the Ramaytush Ohlone, so we can work together to protect and preserve the land for future generations. I also want to start with, I can't, sorry, I'm trying to, yeah, I think I'm too far. Just want to scroll down. Here we go. Thank you. I wanted to recognize that tonight is the last night of Ramadan, and it's special to our Muslim community. So I wish everyone who's participating a joyous Eid holiday Friday. I also wanted to mention that April is Volunteer Awareness Month, or Appreciation Month, excuse me. And to everyone that comes and volunteers in our district, thank you, because it's the volunteers also that make our district really strong. There is an article or a section of the Daily Journal that the students write in, and it's called the Student News. And there's a student writer named Elise Spenner, and she's from Burlingame. She was speaking about pressures that our students encounter from just achieving and achieving and achieving, and what success is. It's a really good piece if people want to read it. I believe it came out yesterday in the Daily Journal, or maybe the day before. But it's really interesting because since next month is Mental Health Month, that is something that really goes hand in hand with mental health and how it affects our students. And I also thought about a lot of our students who are new to this country, who are learning English, who are learning how to navigate this new community and this new world they're in, and all of the extra pressures that go along with learning and achieving, as well as our students at Peninsula. Just the public comments today made me also think about including them in that, because it's affecting all of our kids. I also wanted to mention that I believe it was Monday that was Holocaust Remembrance Day, and it's also one of those pieces of our history that that we do not forget and that we acknowledge. Friday is Fiesta Latina at Hillsdale High School at 5 p.m. in the cafeteria. So for those that can attend, please support our Hillsdale community. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone who attended Pride Prom this past Friday. I really want to acknowledge everyone that worked on that event, as Katie Bush had mentioned in our comments. It's very important, especially everything that we're living right now in our world. Ultimately, I want to say thank you to our Spanish language interpreters, our ASL interpreters, our IT folks that take care of us every day. We have meetings, and just thank you. That's it.
Right. Thank you very much. So I only have a few, but I do want to honor all the things that Trustee Zuniga has said, and I'm glad she honored many different things, and I would agree with that. This is my favorite meeting because DLAC is going to present. Ever since I've come to the board, I've really listened very carefully to all of what you tell us in the DLAC report. And I just want to say it is my favorite meeting because you give us so many good ideas that we can do and move on and do something with. So just thank you for your time, and I'm glad you're going to be reporting today. Second, I just want to say that I will be heading out to Washington, D.C. with the CSBA contingent, which is our school board. California School Boards Association is part of the California delegation to lobby for education at the federal level. And I'm excited to do that. It's the first time I've ever done it. And I'm really looking forward to lobbying and seeing if we can get more money from the federal government for our education, especially special education. Next, I just want to remind everyone, it is still not too late, Dr. Booker, to get some Kent Awards applications in. I saw some of our Hillsdale teachers yesterday at in Burlingame, and I told her to Rachel to apply, so hopefully she is. The deadline is tomorrow. Hopefully the Hillsdale ETA program will be one of the applications. Just for the board members, it is May 19th. I really hope all of you can go if you can make it. It is in the Crown Plaza Hotel from 5:30 to 9, and I'd love us to represent. So hopefully you guys can make it. Equity issues. I am so glad that we had the Pride Prom. I know a friend of mine got to chaperone, and I was glad she was there. I also, with equity, want to talk about, I know several speakers talked about Peninsula, and I just feel like it's important that we put this on the agenda in the future, and I will bring that up later in the meeting. So thank you very much. That's all I have to say for the report. I'm moving on to, where are we? Recognition. So I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Booker at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Land. So May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and tonight I have a proclamation to read. that was reviewed and approved by the Mills Filipino Alliance Club. So just big shout out to them and thanks for their efforts.
Mabuhay. All right.
So Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month proclamation, May 1st through the 31st, 2023. Whereas according to the U.S. Census Bureau, Asians and Pacific Islanders make up the fastest growing racial group in the United States, numbering more than 10 million people, or nearly 4% of the total population. And whereas California is itself home to over 6 million students of Asian and Pacific Islander descent, kindergarten through grade 12. And whereas these students and their families reflect the rich diversity of cultures and heritages of the many different countries of Asia and the Pacific Islands. And Californians have benefited greatly from their inclusion in our society. Whereas despite hardships and barriers, the people of Asia and the Pacific Islands who came to this country and their descendants have made substantial contributions to California's economic growth and development, weaving clear and distinct threads into the state's social fabric. And whereas the history social science framework for California public schools, kindergarten through grades 12, states that the history curriculum of the community, state, region, nation, and the world must reflect the experiences of men and women of different racial, religious, and ethnic groups, and must be integrated at every level. And whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is celebrated annually at the state and national levels, and whereas now more than ever, Californians should remember our heritage and history and recognize that we must continue to celebrate the contributions of Asians and Pacific Islanders as we also defend their rights for equal and fair treatment as Americans during a time when discrimination against people of Asian and Pacific Islander heritage continues and has indeed increased recently. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Trustees at the San Mateo Union High School District that May is designated as Asian Pacific Islander Month, and that San Mateo Union High School District calls upon schools, staff, students, and families to observe May as Asian Pacific Islander History Month by celebrating and recognizing the countless contributions made by Asians and Pacific Islanders throughout our history. So that's, we'll
Thank
need
you.
a, yeah, thank you. We'll need a motion on that and then
Right.
move on to the next one.
Anyone want to?
Move adoption.
I'll second.
second.
Oh, do you mind?
Go ahead. Go
Can I
ahead.
second?
Yes,
Just-
of course.
That's for my daughter.
That's your fan. Yeah.
Okay, so a motion made by trustee Griffin, seconded by trustee Land. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Thank you. So April is Arab American Heritage Month, and tonight I have a proclamation to share with the board as well. So National Arab American Heritage Month, April 1st through the 30th, 2023. Whereas April is National Arab American Heritage Month, officially established via declaration by President Joe Biden in April 2021, it is a time to formally recognize the achievements of Arab Americans and celebrate the Arab American community's rich heritage and numerous contributions to society. And whereas the Arab American story is the American story, one of diverse backgrounds and faiths, vibrant tradition, bold innovation, hard work, commitment to community, and stalwart patriotism. And whereas an estimated 3.7 million Americans have Arab roots, according to the Arab American Institute, with ancestries traced to 22 countries in the Middle East and North Africa, including Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Palestine, Morocco, Iraq, Jordan, Yemen, Bahrain, Tunisia, Algeria, Sudan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and others. Whereas today, Arab Americans live in all 50 states, with 2/3 residing in 10 states: California, Florida, Illinois, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Texas. And Virginia, excuse me. And whereas California is home to more immigrants than any other state, we know that our diversity is our greatest gift. Our state is fortunate to have the largest Arab American population in the country, with more than 715,000 Californians of Arab descent. And whereas the San Mateo Union High School District serves numerous Arab American students and their families, and whereas the achievements of Arab Americans are reflected in the arts and sciences, in businesses and faith communities, in classrooms and hospitals, and in police houses, firehouses, and every branch of the military. And whereas we see Arab American Heritage Month as an opportunity to lift up the profound and wide-ranging contributions of this vibrant community in all facets of our society and American life. And whereas we also recognize that even as Arab Americans enrich our nation, many continue to face prejudice, bigotry, and violence, and are committed as a district to fight these injustices. And whereas we as a district are grateful for the rich experiences Arab Americans bring to our classroom and workplace, and for the many contributions they make to our schools and community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Trustees of the San Mateo Union High School District that April is designated as National Arab American Heritage Month, and that San Mateo Union High School District calls upon schools, staff, students, and families to observe April as National Arab American Heritage Month by celebrating and recognizing the past, present, and future contributions made by Arab Americans in our country and our school community. And President Land, if you don't mind, I just want to say one more thing. So over this past year, and as we're wrapping up the school year, we've done a number of proclamations with regards to whether it's national or state level heritage months or those kinds of celebrations. And I think there might be some people in the community asking, well, so then what? Like, okay, so I read this out loud, then what happens? And why do we do it? So I want to be really clear on the why and the what, especially if any of our students are watching, and oh my gosh, I don't know why they're watching a board meeting, but if they are, first is to educate our community and to celebrate our community. It's the first reason why we do this. In developing these proclamations, I learn a lot. And I'm hoping our community and our students and our educators also get a chance to learn, and these might prompt them to dig in further, to learn more. Hey, I didn't know that. I want to learn more. So it's one, to celebrate and to educate. But secondly, what we do with these proclamations after the board approves them, we take them and we send them off to all of our local politicians, our state politicians, our state representatives at the state and federal levels, Tony Thurmond, Governor Newsom. We want to be known as a school district that takes these seriously, that celebrates these, and we want to send a message to our politicians that they should take them seriously too. And we are doing our part to celebrate and educate. And so that's part of our communication. So thank you for giving me a moment to say that.
And I think it's important as a board, because as proclamations that we approve, that's just it. We're giving direction to the staff to say, this is important to us. And this is something that we acknowledge and get to other elected officials, and exactly what you were saying. Because again, as a body, this is how we vote as a group to say, this is important for us. So thank you for saying that, and just adding a little bit to us, our voice as well. I am now going to go into the consent agenda.
Approve that.
Oh, that
I
has,
move
we
to
have to do
approve.
the motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, so to approve the proclamation, forgot that, sorry. Approval, motion made by Trustee Andrade Zuniga and a second by Trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Now, was getting ahead of myself. Now, consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull an item? Staff is going to be pulling item number 16, and we'll bring it back on May 4th.
If no discussion, I move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Andrade Zuniga, seconded by Trustee Griffin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried 5-0. Okay, we are moving on to regular reports. Report of the superintendent, Superintendent Booker.
Thank you, President Land. I just have a couple of announcements. Earth Day is April 22nd. I know that San Mateo Union High School District has had a history and a culture of acknowledging and celebrating Earth Day. I know we've done a tremendous amount with regard to sustainability. It's an annual event held on April 22nd. The first Earth Day was held in 1970, and according to earthday.org, 1 billion individuals are mobilized for action every Earth Day, and over 190 countries are engaged in celebrations and events to advance the cause of environmental protection. A few of our schools are planning unique events. Hillsdale High School, led by Dave Emanuel, had a week of Earth Day, including events of sustainable fashion show with staff and students, Bike Day, where they promoted the bike project that fixes old bikes and lends them out to the community for free. San Mateo High School's Green Team hosted several events this week, including a Meatless Monday event and a No Waste Wednesday event. And we know that members of our community are continuously conscious of making decisions that support environmental protection. Secondly, I want to acknowledge that we've got Administrative Professionals Week coming up. It's the week of April 23rd through the 29th. And as I've said before, all of our staff members are educators, and our administrative professionals exemplify the work of teaching our students. The administrative professionals in our district are the glue that holds us together. They serve us with both fresh, innovative ideas and institutional memory. They help with the help and support of these talented educators. We have better outcomes for all of our students. And I'd like to take a moment to recognize my own administrative professional team. Ms. Shara Aquino is the administrative assistant to myself and the Board of Trustees. She is at the top of her field in terms of talent and commitment.
Yes, we love
Here,
you.
here. Thank you, Shar, for all that you do in support of our students in the district. I also want to acknowledge a new hire, Layli Hadarian, recently joined our team as an administrative assistant in supporting the superintendent's office, the Board of Education, and she's made a fabulous addition to our team. Just a huge, and then all of the other administrative professionals, and the list goes on and on. They're amazing. We couldn't educate our students without them, and I truly do believe they are educators like all of us. So a sincere thank you to everyone for your talents and your commitment. Thank you, President Land.
Thank you. Next, we have the report of the District Teachers Association representative.
We have Mr.
Hey,
Hi.
we haven't seen you in a while, Craig.
Been busy.
All right. Good to see you.
First of all, busyness. I'm glad Trustee Zuniga. Good evening, President Land, members of the board, district cabinet. I'm glad Trustee Zuniga mentioned Ms. Spenner's op-ed in the paper. I was gonna briefly mention it as well. I think it was a really great take on and advice for students who are, getting into crunch time this time of year with AP tests and end of year, especially seniors who are, trying to tour colleges and also prep for finals. It was really thoughtful and well done. So I commend her for that. I also want to commend the board for engaging and the district cabinet for engaging in a book study program. The content of the book is almost irrespective of the impact of an action like this. I will say that at Hillsdale, many reforms and many systemic changes have started with a group of people who have shared reading experience and talked critically about the things that they were reading with respect to education. So I think that's a really great idea for the board and the cabinet to engage in. I know we're all busy, but it's probably worth it. One of the quotes that was pulled in the presentation was about systemic thinking, and it kind of goes along with a lot of what has already been said tonight and some of the speakers. And one of them was about one of the quotes was having a wide angle lens with strong peripheral vision and the ability to focus on one thing but see the surrounding landscape and understand the impact on everything there. And that really resonated with me as I was listening to some of the speakers tonight, especially with our colleagues and our brothers and sisters at Peninsula High School. While the numbers may indicate that there needs to be a change in staffing in terms of support for the students there or for the programs there, I think it's really important to keep that quote in mind and look at the big picture. Some of the teachers from Peninsula mentioned the idea that the trends are undeniable in terms of the support that students are receiving or have been receiving recently with the COVID enhancements or COVID supports, and which will run out. And the fact that we still need to accommodate a vision where every student succeeds in this district. I urge the board and cabinet to take a closer look at the decisions that are made about staffing and about the support for the programs at Peninsula, beyond just the numbers or an initial assessment of the numbers. The quote also resonates with me with the U.S. history course of study that's before the board tonight. I watched the last meeting, and yes, Mr. Land, I was not present and haven't been for a while, but I do still tune in. As Mr. Booker, as Mr. Booker said, that's okay. That's okay. As Mr. Booker said, I don't know why anyone would be watching. Well, I think he said students, but I'll just generalize and say why anyone would, choose to tune in without an intent. But I do watch. And I was really pleased with the presentation that our teachers made, and frankly, as a parent of a junior next year at Aragon High School, I'm really excited to have my child have the opportunity to engage in an updated course such as the one that's being presented and really was presented last November. I heard all the questions and I heard all the discussions, and I just really want to recognize the work that not only the teachers on the committee, but also the entire social studies teaching community in our district in supporting an updating of the course of study to reflect not only the state frameworks, which is obviously intact, but also the idea of providing a more modern and informed perspective on delivering the curriculum, a thematic approach, giving teachers the opportunity to meet the students where they are at and where they are best served. I do really applaud the district for considering this curriculum and this update, but I am concerned that some of the questions at the study session, well, for lack of a better description, seem to discount the experts in the room. And I want to make sure that we all understand that we have the best teachers in our district, and we should be proud of the work that has been done, not only of the committee again, but also of all the teachers in our district in supporting this curriculum. And so I encourage you to think critically and thoughtfully about how you vote on the curriculum tonight. Finally, I'll mention again, the quote from the book is great, a strong peripheral vision and focus on one thing. We've had 2 meetings of the negotiating teams. I'm pleased to say that as it has been for the last few years, we've had very professional and cordial interactions with all involved, including legal representation. We've I think spent some good time, and Dr. Black will concur, I'm sure, providing clarity about our positions, our proposals, and really sparking interest in each other to think about creativity going forward. So I'm happy with the progress, though limited, that we have made thus far. We look forward to discussing more concrete terms in terms of finances and healthcare and working conditions next week in the future. So thank you for the time, and that's all I have.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry if I was joking. It's just good to see you.
No problem. Point taken.
All right. Okay. Next, we have a report from the CSEA Chapter 519 representative, who I see in person.
Yes.
Hey, good to see you. Yep.
Surprising my cousin for dinner. Hopefully that video will get posted on America's Funniest Videos.
There we go.
It's so good. But truth be told, the week before, or the meeting before, I was online watching all the parents doing their presentations, and our power went off. And I was like texting Cheryl, help. I was like, I can't run over to Starbucks and be there in time. So I apologize for that too, but I'm glad to be here in person and say hello to everybody because it's nice. I haven't met most of you. And actually, you were on the committee trust board when I talked about Roundup, everyone's favorite pesticide.
Yeah.
But now I have a different hat I'm wearing, and that's the president of the CSCA. And it's been, trial by fire, learning how to quickly get through what we need to do, how many things are brought to the table, negotiations, problem solving, learning about the 610 process and how things need to go in certain orders to work well for everybody and stay on the right path. And like today we had our negotiations. No offense, but it's interesting that Craig said that his negotiations went really well. I can't really say that for us. We are just beating the same dog for so long. The last time the CSCA presented something to the district was March 14th, and they haven't responded yet. So today they were talking about a couple of the issues, which they had adamantly said no, hard, fast no's to. Well, they're like, maybe it'll be different. We can talk about it again. It's like, what? Because our last meeting was March 14th. Originally, they were saying our next meeting was going to be May 1st. And it's like, what? So they gave us 2 hours today to talk. And it felt very condescending what was going on, at least in my frame of mind. We were talking about a certain issue, and then Lou was saying, well, maybe if I write it down, it'll seem different. And so we go away for 45 minutes and then he comes back and it's written exactly what he had said, which we didn't agree with. It's like, really? It's really a different animal, and I'm hoping that we can figure out a better way forward with this. But we have a meeting on the 1st. That'll be all day long, and we'll see what moves forward. It's interesting, the things that they say is the problem, that we can't make agreements on things. It's like, well, you have no money on the line, so that's why this can just last forever for you. And that's not the case. We're talking about health insurance that's hold up, salaries issues, transfers, reclass, bus drivers, everything. It's like, can we try something? But no, it's a hard, fast no. Why don't we just let them decide it at their, in their department? It's like, no, that's why it was brought to the union, so that we can talk about it for them to help ease this conversation. But that's not, unfortunately, the way it goes. On a second note, we're getting better at the 601, and Yancey is great, spin out those MOUs, and we talk about all the different processes we need to get done. And if there's issues, it's like, okay, wait, there's no qualification or education on this. And so he can get it back to us quickly. We review it. And I think we're improving on how quickly it's going together. And I really hope to help it move forward and stay on track to move stuff up. Funny thing though, when I came in, I didn't realize that Peninsula was being attacked again. Why is they always the victim in this school district? Our maintenance and operations was up with them originally, and it was evident when I go as an environmental health and safety person to all the school sites, who's supporting who. And there's no better family connectivity going on at Peninsula High School than anywhere else. They support each other, the staff, the students, because it's a special place where the kids that may have a hard time are brought in, and the teachers and staff there know how to communicate with these kids, and they're fed from all the schools into it, and yet they keep getting the short stick. And the idea of pulling an English and a science teacher from their staff, I can't even fathom that. But that's just my 2 cents. But that's all. Do you have a question for me? Stay on.
No, thank you. Stay on course. Much appreciated.
Stay on Zoom next time.
No, it's nice to have you in person. Okay. So next we have the report of the San Mateo Adult School Teachers Association.
I do not see that we have representation report this evening.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our special reports and presentations. We get to spotlight on student learning, our DLAC presentation. So I'm turning it over to Superintendent Booker.
Thank you. So because we are online and on Zoom and have translation support, just a little pause here. So for our viewers that are currently in our Spanish translation Zoom room, we ask that you select main audio during our presentation. Once the presentation is over, you can switch back to the translation room where Enrique will begin to simultaneously translate the remainder of the meeting. Dulce, would you please communicate this also?
Para nuestros espectadores que están siguiendo esta reunión a través de Zoom con interpretación en español, les pedimos que seleccionen el audio principal durante la siguiente presentación. Una vez que termine esta presentación, puede regresar a la sala de interpretación en español, donde Enrique comenzará a traducir simultáneamente el resto de la reunión.
Gracias.
Okay, well, I'm really thrilled. This is my first DLAC presentation in San Mateo Union, so I'm really thrilled to introduce Dr. Shulman, our Manager of English Learner and Academic Support Programs, to kick us off. Dr. Shulman.
Yay. Good evening, President Land, Vice President Andrade Zuniga, Board Trustees, Cabinet, and Community. As most of you know, my role in the district encompasses many different areas of responsibility. As part of my work overseeing our English learner programs, I have the pleasure and honor of working with our family engagement coordinators to support the district's English Learner Advisory Committee. Over the years, this work continues to humble me, inspires me, and makes me extremely grateful to these hardworking families who want to make sure we're doing our best to serve all of our English learner students. Tonight, we have 3 outstanding leaders from our larger DLAC committee who are here to present their annual report. I'm going to hand it over to them to introduce themselves and begin, and Dulce will help facilitate the interpretation.
Buenas noches, Presidente Land, Vicepresidenta Zúñiga Andrade, miembros de la Junta Directiva, Gabinete y Comunidad. Como la mayoría de ustedes saben, mi papel en nuestro distrito abarca muchas áreas diferentes de responsabilidad. Como parte de mi trabajo supervisando nuestros programas de aprendices de inglés, tengo el placer y el honor de trabajar con nuestros coordinadores de participación familiar para apoyar al Comité Asesor de Aprendices de Inglés del Distrito. A través de los años, este trabajo continúa haciéndome humilde, inspirándome y haciéndome extremadamente agradecida a estas familias trabajadoras que quieren asegurarse de que estamos haciendo todo lo posible para servir a todos nuestros estudiantes aprendices de inglés. Esta noche tenemos 3 líderes sobresalientes de nuestro gran comité DLAC que están aquí para presentar su informe anual. Voy a ceder la palabra a ellos para que presenten y comiencen. Dulce Hatch facilitará la interpretación.
Thank you, Dr. Shulman. Thank you, Dulce. Good evening. My name is Robert Porras. I am a parent of an 11th grade student at Aragon High School. This is my 3rd year on DLAC representing Aragon. And much like now, President Land and former Trustee Land always said every year, this is the one presentation that I look forward to either philanthropically or professionally. So honored to be here. Thank you.
Mi nombre es Robert Porras. Tengo un hijo en el grado 11 en la escuela Aragón y este es mi 3er año trabajando con el comité DLAC.
Buenas noches para todos. Mi nombre es Andrea Prieto. Soy madre de Nicolás Esquivel, estudiante del grado 11 de la escuela Capuchino High School y hago parte del equipo de DLAC. Gracias.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Andrea Prieto. Tengo un hijo en el grado 11 en la escuela Capuchino.
En inglés.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Cambio.
Sorry. My name is Andrea Prieto. I'm representing Capuchino High School. I have a son and he's a junior.
Buenas noches, gracias por invitarme. Mi nombre es Jordanka, represento a la escuela de Capuchino y este es mi 1er año en DLAC.
My name is Jordanka Machado. I'm representing Capuchino. This is my 1st year representing Capuchino.
Before proceeding with our report, DLAC would like to commend the district on the following achievements this year.
Antes de que empecemos con las recomendaciones, queremos hablar sobre las encomiendas o elogios de este año.
First, onboarding a multilingual communication expert to help optimize the communication to our English as a second language community.
Nos gustaría felicitar al distrito por la contratación de un especialista en comunicación multilingüe.
Ramping up the volume of district information in Spanish.
La mejora en la comunicación en español.
Adding an instructional aid support to ELD classes.
También más apoyo de asistentes de instrucción en las clases del programa Desarrollo del Lenguaje en Inglés.
Targeted tutoring support at Hillsdale and Capuchino High Schools for ELD students.
Tutorías para estudiantes aprendices de inglés en Hillsdale y Capuchino.
And a quick personal commendation and comment thanking Principal Arbizu at Aragon High School, who has collaborated with the ELAC group there to introduce a similar measure going into next year.
Y también trabajando con la principal de Aragón sobre, could you repeat again?
With introducing also a targeting tutoring support for EL students.
Y también que se quieren enfocar en ofrecer tutoría para los estudiantes aprendices de inglés.
Collaborating with community groups like Legal Aid Society of San Mateo County and San Mateo Human Services Agency on targeted workshops for families.
También con la colaboración con organizaciones comunitarias para organizar talleres educativos. Hemos trabajado con la ayuda legal del Condado de San Mateo y la Agencia de Servicios Humanos de San Mateo.
And lastly, DLAC commends Principal Campana on opening Peninsula High School, for summer school targeting our ELD students.
También felicitaciones al director Campana por permitir llevar el programa de escuela de verano en la escuela Península. Esta es la escuela de verano para estudiantes aprendices de inglés.
As a DLAC group, we meet monthly to analyze performance data.
Nosotros nos reunimos como DLAC una vez al mes.
Obtain feedback and report on that feedback from our families individually from each high school.
Nosotros obtenemos comentarios de las familias de nuestras escuelas, de cada representante de las escuelas.
And in each session, we hold strategic workshops to formulate ideas for action.
En cada sesión formulamos ideas para ponerlas en acción.
Henceforth, DLAC would like to provide recommendations in the following areas: communication, student support, and family support.
Nos gustaría presentar algunas recomendaciones en las siguientes áreas: comunicación, apoyo al estudiante y apoyo a las familias.
And I'll segue to my fellow parent, Andrea Prieto.
Paso la palabra a mi compañera Andrea.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Si bien hemos tenido un avance en la comunicación en las escuelas del distrito,
although we have improved the communication in the schools.
En cuanto a herramientas que facilitan esta misma, todavía tenemos una variable que nos está afectando.
But also we need to improve to being more assertive.
En las reuniones de DILAT se presentaron ellas y venimos en representación no solo de Capuchino, sino de todas las escuelas en donde percibimos esta faltante, ya que en Capuchino para nosotros ha sido todo un éxito tenerlas y cumplirlas a cabalidad.
We have been here to present some recommendations. Capuchino has been very successful in the communication area, and we're here to make some recommendations so other schools can improve.
La primera de ellas es que anhelamos que en las reuniones académicas, deportivas e informativas,
the first one, we need information given for mandatory meetings, such as the sports information meetings or academic meetings.
Exista personal que se refiera a los padres de familia en su lengua materna.
We need more presentations in Spanish or in the primary language. not interpretation.
Esto en cuanto a correos electrónicos, mensajes de texto y llamadas.
We're asking for more text, robocalls, emails in the primary language.
La segunda de ellas es que en los centros educativos debe haber un personal multilingüe que facilite la interacción personal y la comunicación con los padres de estos estudiantes.
We need more bilingual or multilingual staff in our schools so they will be able to communicate better with the families.
Requerimos que la información académica de nuestros chicos se brinde a tiempo antes de que se presente el informe final.
Yeah, we need a more accurate information about academic and in advance, not until they are failing.
Esto porque como padres nos estamos integrando al desarrollo académico de ellos y queremos apoyarles el crecimiento desde el inicio.
As parents, we want to support our students since the beginning.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Thank you so much.
Buenas noches.
Good
Me
evening.
gustaría transmitirle las recomendaciones en el área académica que nuestro grupo propone.
I would like to convey to you the recommendations that our group proposes in the academic area.
Cuando hablamos de consejeros, estamos de acuerdo que hablamos del mejor aliado que tienen nuestros hijos y los padres en la escuela.
When we talk about academic counselors, we agree that we are talking about one of the best allies that our children and we parents have in the school.
Por eso debemos asegurarnos que los estudiantes de ELD y EL puedan llegar a nuestros consejeros.
That is why we need to make sure that ELT and EL students can reach out to counselors.
Y para que esto suceda, debemos proporcionar un menor número de estudiantes por consejeros para que estos puedan brindar el apoyo adicional que nuestros hijos necesitan.
The best way for this to happen is to provide a small number of students per academic counselor.
Debemos asegurarnos también de que los estudiantes tengan tiempo para ver a sus consejeros fuera del proceso de selección de curso.
We need to make sure that students have time to meet with the counselors outside of programming time and that the student understands their options.
Y de que estos entiendan sus opciones después de la preparatoria y las formas de ayudarle a conseguirla.
So that the student understand their options after high school and how to achieve their goals.
También sería beneficioso tener acceso ocasional a los consejeros.
It may be beneficial to have access to them, to the counselors.
Ya que muchas de nuestras familias trabajan a tiempo completo, algunas con 2 trabajos, y se nos hace muy difícil acceder a ellos en el horario que esté establecido.
Many families, because of their work schedules, at time double shifts, benefit from this instead of email contact. For parents, sometimes it's very, very difficult to reach out to the counselors after hours, of course.
Okay. Tenemos actualmente 2 escuelas con programa de tutoría a los estudiantes, Capuchino y Hisden.
We currently have 2 schools that offer tutoring for ELD students after school, Capuchino and Hillsdale.
Esto ha demostrado ser un espacio seguro que los alumnos pueden asistir y recibir ayuda que necesitan.
This has proven to be a safe space where students can go for assistance after school.
Por eso recomendamos extender esta iniciativa a las demás escuelas que tengan programa ELD.
We recommend to extend this initiative to other ELD schools with ELD program.
Debemos extender la exposición de carreras técnicas y a los estudiantes postsecundarios y a las universidades por 4 años.
We need to extend exposure to technical careers and post-secondary study options.
Sería provechoso realizar encuestas a nuestros estudiantes para conocer sus intereses y a partir de ellos desarrollar programas que se ajusten a los mismos.
It would be helpful to survey students' interests and from this develop programming to meet these interests.
Sería beneficioso llevar oradores bilingües invitados de diversas carreras para intercambiar con nuestros estudiantes.
It would be very beneficial to bring bilingual guest speakers from various career fields to the school to engage with the ELT students.
Sí. Esto despertaría, me imagino, el interés en los mismos por esta carrera.
Yeah, so this will be very beneficial for the English learner students.
Okay.
Like the cliche goes, practice makes perfect. We feel incorporating our ELD students into extracurricular activities would be a good way to accelerate development of English.
Nosotros recomendamos que involucrar a los estudiantes en actividades extracurriculares también les traían el beneficio de desarrollar el idioma inglés.
The added benefit would be incorporating our EL students into the wider school community.
Uno de los beneficios sería incorporar a los estudiantes en el área completa de las actividades que ofrecen las escuelas.
A possible good area of opportunity would be pairing an EL student with a tenured student that shares the same foreign language.
Una de las opciones que tenemos sería poner a un estudiante con un estudiante que está aprendiendo inglés, un estudiante regular, y de esa manera aprenden uno del otro.
We would also like to dig deeper into the pilot prevention program at El Centro de Libertad to analyze any successes that could be incorporated into our district.
También nos gustaría más educación para la prevención de drogas. Ahorita el programa Bridge tiene este programa a través del Centro de Libertad y quisiéramos verlo extendido.
I lastly segue back to our co-parents, Andrea and Jordan.
Y Andrea va a presentar ahora. Jordan.
Ok, nos gustaría transmitirles nuestras recomendaciones de apoyo centrado en la familia.
So now we have recommendations for the family support.
Okay. Un mal que nos aqueja actualmente y que nos golpea muy fuerte es el uso o consumo de drogas.
A social evil that afflicts us and that is really hurting us hard is substance use.
Por eso es importante contar con un programa de prevención. Repito, prevención.
That this is why it is important to have a drug use prevention program. I repeat, drug use prevention program.
Las familias necesitan orientación y educación de cómo hablar con nuestros hijos acerca de este tema.
Families need guidance and education on this issue and how to support their children and prevent substance use.
Necesitamos todo el apoyo posible para poder evitar este terrible mal.
We really need your support to get rid of this evil.
Nuestras familias necesitan también mayores oportunidades para conocer al personal de la escuela.
Our families need more opportunities to meet the personnel of staff of the schools.
Días de maestros, consejeros, administradores, para de esta forma poder familiarizarnos con ellos.
Teachers, counselors, admin, to get familiar with them.
Tengo 3 puntos importantes para anexar al apoyo familiar.
I have 3 more points for the family support.
Y es el primero de ellos, requerimos información y apoyo sobre las oportunidades de desarrollo y crecimiento a futuro para los estudiantes sin importar el estatus legal de ellos.
Yeah, we need more support for our dreamers and newcomer students.
En la mesa de DILAC debatimos también nosotros los padres
During our DLAC meetings, we were discussing
el anhelo de crecer hablando el inglés,
that we really want to get able to learn English, the parents, the families,
y cumplir nuestros logros académicos a nivel profesional también.
and be able to meet our goals in the professional area
Para poder ser de ejemplo para esos chicos que nos siguen a nosotros.
to be the example for our kids that they follow us.
Por eso requerimos la colaboración de ustedes con la información de los centros de ensueño que tiene y de los colegios comunitarios locales del distrito.
That's why we need your support to be in contact with the dream centers at the local community colleges.
Evidenciamos también que muchas de las familias hoy no cuentan con los medios tecnológicos para poder acceder a la información en línea de cada colegio.
Also, many families don't have access to a laptop or desktop computer to access the communication that the district of schools is given to the families.
Y evidenciamos la ausencia de padres
And also, we can see the lack of parents that attend the meetings.
Evidenciamos la ausencia de los padres debido a que ellos están trabajando y requieren de estar continuamente en línea, en comunicación con los profesores y demás.
Parents are working hard. Sometimes they are not able to be in communication with the teachers or staff.
Realmente les agradecemos que nos hayan escuchado a nosotros. Los dejo con mi compañero. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much for your attention.
Any comments or questions for us?
Muchas.
Comentarios o
Can we just give you a hand
preguntas.
first? Oh,
Yes, un aplauso primero.
gracias. Any questions? Comments?
Preguntas.
I have some questions.
Okay, I'll start here.
Oh, okay. If Trustee Chavez, go ahead first.
Trustee Chavez,
We'll
do you
go
want
in,
to
a-
just
we'll
start?
go in a line.
Yeah. I'll go back to order. Trustee Jacobson, do you have any questions? Sorry.
I do. Just a couple. The ELD tutoring, after school programs, I just am curious how many students access or attend those. Is that a popular program or could we leverage that better?
Está preguntando que está curiosa. Quisiera saber cuántos estudiantes que están asistiendo al programa de tutoría para estudiantes aprendices de inglés están asistiendo.
This is actually the first year that schools are starting to have specific tutoring for ELD students. Like all of our sites have had tutoring centers, but
Okay.
actually this group of parents came last year and recommended that really bilingual tutors are needed for our EL students. And there's upwards of, 20, sometimes 50 students that are accessing often. If you think about it, Hillsdale has, 150 or so ELD students, almost 250 next door. Cappuccino has almost 100. So it's being heavily utilized.
Este es el primer año que nuestras escuelas Cappuccino y Hillsdale están teniendo este programa de tutoría después de escuela y ha sido con éxito y es también una recomendación que hizo este grupo el año pasado.
I'm just curious if any of the sites have a specific ELPTA.
Tiene la pregunta que si alguna de las escuelas tiene un grupo específico como lo que llamamos el grupo de padres y maestros, que usualmente se conoce como PTO, pero también se puede conocer como PTA. So you're referring that it's only for the English learner families?
Yes.
Le estoy preguntando que si se está refiriendo que si es un comité que sea solamente para familias que sus estudiantes son aprendices de inglés.
So many of the parents in this group wear multiple hats, I for one. So speaking on Aragon, we have ELAC, this is district focused, ELAC is school focused.
Okay.
And I'm also part of the Grupo Padres Latinos, which is it's part of the PTSO, but it's for Latino families.
So at Aragon, we have the ELAC group, but also we have the Latino parent group that is part of the PTSO. And I just to add that your meetings in the Latino parent group are only in Spanish, I'm correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so the meetings are in Spanish
And
only.
Yeah, and I believe some of our other parents here also are part of not just DLAC, but also the local PTSO Latino group as well.
El resto, ya está diciendo que el resto de los padres aquí como ustedes también tienen en sus escuelas el grupo de las familias latinas.
Great. Thank you.
Precisamente estamos en representación de ellos, dos padres de capuchino, porque ha sido algo que ha funcionado en la escuela.
Yeah.
Sí, la información de capuchino, de maestros y estos grupos que se han armado dentro de ella para involucrarnos, padres, maestros, en el desarrollo académico de nuestros hijos, ha hecho que ellos crezcan, que estén motivados y que vengamos a estas reuniones a querer inyectar esto en las otras escuelas del distrito.
So we are here representing Capuchino because the great parent engagement program working in Capuchino, that's why they are here representing Capuchino.
Nosotros no solo estamos representando a nuestros hijos, estamos representando a las generaciones futuras.
We are here representing the next future generations, not just our kids, but all the kids.
Si me permiten, le voy a transmitir brevemente mi experiencia.
Despacio. Yeah, I'm going to share with you my experience, with you guys, my experience.
Solo llevo aquí 1 año, 2 meses.
I have been here only 1 year and 2 months.
Vengo de Cuba.
I'm from Cuba.
Y normalmente todos van a Florida.
And usually they go to Florida. People from Cuba.
Me dijeron, no vayas a California porque tu barrera va a ser el idioma.
So everybody told her, don't go to California because the language is going to be a barrier for you.
Llego a Capuchino y de repente todo fue fácil. La comunicación fue en español y dije, oh, esto no era lo que me habían dicho. Pensé que me iba a encontrar muchas barreras de idioma y he oído a otras amistades.
So I arrived to Capuchino and she was like, oh my God, because the communication was so easy.
A otras amistades decir, oh, yo no voy a las reuniones, no entiendo nada, no voy más porque todo me lo comunican en inglés.
She had the experience that other families from another community says like, I don't go to the school meetings because everything is in English. I don't understand.
Y no es mi caso, no es nuestro caso y quisiera que esto se transmitiera a otras escuelas para que también le fuera tan fácil como nos ha sido a nosotros.
My case is different because it has been so easy to communicate in my school and hopefully every school is doing the same. More questions?
Move on.
Well, I just want to clarify the Aries communications those are getting out in Spanish, right?
Solamente quiere asegurarse que las comunicaciones que
Because I get them in Spanish for some reason.
Las comunicaciones que están llegando a las familias a través del programa Aries que estamos usando para en Square están siendo bilingües para todas las escuelas. Eso es correcto, ¿verdad?
So I think, when you do Parent Square, you have to
Yeah.
set your language settings. So
Yeah.
if they've set it, then they'll get it in whether it's Spanish or Arabic or Chinese, whatever language you set it in.
Cuando tú te escribes en el distrito y llenas tu hoja de información, tú puedes poner el lenguaje o el idioma preferido.
But I think, what happens with some schools is they will put out a communication and then include often Spanish because that's the major language in our district within that communication. So you see both right away.
Y
Right.
entonces lo que está pasando que en algunas escuelas, ¿verdad? O creo que en todas reciben la información en los dos idiomas, en inglés y en español. ¿Es correcto? That is correct. Okay.
Thank you. I'm
Gracias.
going to add, I'm going totally out of order and I apologize, but my question was about Aries as well, because I think you make a very good point about communication. It's in Spanish, but sometimes parents need to know how to do certain things.
Right.
And how can we educate, how can we help support how, and that's something that I think is important from the point that was taken is how can we help the parents who are in Spanish to understand, oh, this is how it works and this is how we get the information and this is how we can communicate better.
Y entonces lo que está diciendo, ¿verdad? Hablando del programa Aries, que sabe que las familias pueden accesar la comunicación español. Aquí el punto sería saber cómo podemos ayudar y educar a las familias a que usen la plataforma, a que usen los programas.
See?
And I think, you know, that's in written, right? Or like when we send written communications, but some of the points or examples they gave is when you go to back to school night, right? There's usually a large presentation for families, or for example, when you have the required, if your child plays a sport and you have the required meeting you have to go to, there's not interpretation. It's only in English. So now I've come to my kids' sports night because I have to be there. And so I fulfilled that requirement, but I didn't understand anything.
Y lo que está diciendo la señora Samia, ¿verdad? Que es uno de los puntos que tienen ustedes en las recomendaciones. Por ejemplo, hay juntas que son mandatorias para las familias, como las juntas de deportes o tal vez la noche de regreso a la escuela, donde no se está dando la prestación en el idioma materno, que en este caso sería el español, que ustedes lo acaban de mencionar en la recomendación.
Uno de ellos, y si recuerdan, una de las recomendaciones finales es que muchos padres no están accediendo por la falta de recursos tecnológicos.
Exactamente.
Yeah, and one of the recommendations is many parents, they don't have access because they don't have access to the devices.
I was going to bring that up later, but
Yeah.
good.
It's on my list too.
Yeah.
Y también la forma en que lo están explicando.
Yeah.
Porque a veces es traducción literal y no es
Mhm.
correcto.
And sometimes the way that the translation is, done, because sometimes it's not accurate, it's not right.
Y se pierde información. Sí.
Yeah, and we're losing information when it is not accurate.
Anyway, I'm sorry to take the steam out,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
Dice que
go for it.
ya le robó
I
la
like to
palabra a
have
los
a
demás.
loose conversation, but yeah. Yeah.
Jacobson, are you? Okay.
Buenas noches.
Well, I don't know where to start. I have a whole page of notes here. Sometimes I can't read my own writing, but I'm going to try my best. So I live in San Bruno. My daughter attends Cappuccino,
Ella es de San Bruno, su hija va a Capuchino.
and I just had my older daughter just graduate from Cappuccino last year.
Su hija mayor se graduó de Capuchino el
Both
año
of my
pasado.
daughters attended public school in San Bruno from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Ajá, sus hijas asistieron a escuela pública desde kinder hasta el grado 12
And I was on the school board in San Bruno for the last 4 years before I came here.
y fue miembro también de la junta directiva del distrito de San Bruno antes de ser parte de esta mesa directiva.
And we have always tried to push for Spanish translation on all the flyers that go out to the parents.
Yeah. Y
Some
siempre,
schools are really good about it, other schools, if there was less English language learners. But I think it was super important to have all communications go out
Yeah.
to the parents.
y piensa que es bien importante que todas las comunicaciones, ¿verdad? Deberían de ser bilingües, multilingües.
I was on the DLAC committee in the elementary school district, and it was not this incredible.
Dice que ella fue parte del comité DILAC en la escuela elemental y que no era tan increíble como este comité de nuestro distrito. Un aplauso.
Gracias. Pero más que nosotros tres, los padres que están aquí
Sí.
atrás.
But mostly the parents that are here attending this evening, supporting the DILAC
That's
report.
amazing. That's great. I'm getting all teary eyed. I think we didn't do such a great job of our outreach because we were trying to have more parent participation. from Latino families.
Yeah. Y tal vez sabe que a lo mejor no estamos haciendo la suficiente esfuerzo en tratar de traer más familias participando en las escuelas, familias latinas,
And we can learn from you.
pero podemos aprender de ustedes.
Okay, now I'll go to my notes.
Va a ir ahora a sus notas.
I attend the school site council meeting for the last 2 years at Capuchino.
Estuvo en la reunión del concilio escolar en Capuchino.
We always have a great discussion once a month, and there's decisions made there for Capuchino.
Siempre hubo una gran discusión sobre decisiones que iban a pasar en Capuchino, que se tenían que hacer en Capuchino.
We only have 2 or 3 parents that participate. I'm one of the parents, and the other parent is Mr. Torres, who has a Spanish interpreter provided by the district.
Hay una falta de padres participando en el concilio escolar. Ella era una de ellas, y también al señor Torres, que siempre se le ofrece un intérprete en español durante las reuniones.
And Mr. Torres, he's a very engaged parent, and he also is part of the Latino parent grouping at Capuchino.
El señor Torres es un padre muy comprometido y también es un padre que participa en el grupo de padres latinos de Capuchino.
So I'm going to use this time for a free commercial here.
Va a usar este tiempo para hacer un comercial gratis.
I'm looking for more parent participation from our Latino families for the school site council.
Sí, ella está quisiera ver más participación de padres latinos en el consejo del concilio escolar de la escuela.
On the school site council last year we have representation from all students. They attend the school site council meeting. We have a few students from 9th grade, a few students from 10th grade, a few students from 11th grade, and a few students from 12th grade. And go ahead. Sorry.
Hubo una gran participación en este concilio escolar de estudiantes. Tuvimos estudiantes del grado 9, estudiantes del grado 10, estudiantes del grado 11 y estudiantes del grado 12.
And as a committee, we all agreed unanimously that it was critical to have ELD representation specifically from ELD students.
Ese concilio llegó unánimemente a la decisión que necesitaban representación de estudiantes que fueran parte del programa de aprendices de inglés.
I totally agree that we need more translation and more bilingual staff at Capuchino and other school sites.
Ella está totalmente de acuerdo que necesitamos más traducción, más interpretación en estas reuniones en los idiomas requeridos.
When I receive text messages from Principal Gomez as well as emails, I can see that there are 2 versions, and there are also, when there are flyers, attachments, there is the multiple language, English and Spanish.
Cuando ella recibe mensajes de la escuela del director Gómez, ella se da cuenta que está recibiendo textos, mensajes bilingües, ¿verdad? Inclusive si hay volantes incluidos, están bilingües.
However, I have attended some parent meetings such as the sports. My daughter was in sports, and also the meeting regarding if you have a sophomore or a junior, to make sure they're taking the right courses. And I look around to see if there's translation. I assume there's another meeting for Latino families, but I don't want to assume that.
Ella ha estado participando en algunas de las reuniones de deportes, por ejemplo. Ella pone atención para ver si hay interpretación. Ella puede asumir que a lo mejor hay una junta equivalente. But you're not sure, right?
I'm not sure. But I think
no
está
segura.
Ahí voy a hacerte una pausa para darte la información. Sí, en Capuchino hay una reunión aparte de padres latinos. No estamos juntamente. Nosotros tenemos reunión de padres latinos.
We have the Latino Parent Organization meeting.
En donde, pues precisamente por eso estamos aquí.
So we are here because those meetings.
Okay.
Porque hemos visto que en estas reuniones, cuando estamos presentes en el proceso académico de nuestros hijos, el crecimiento de ellos ha sido increíble.
When we are involved in our child's education, there is success for them.
That's totally true.
Y cuando yo les decía que no estaba solo en representación mía, sino de todos los padres.
When I said that I'm here not just representing my son, but representing all families.
es porque, al igual que Jordanka, solo llevo un año en el país.
Same as Jordanka, I have been here just 1 year in the USA.
Mi hijo Nicolás entró aquí con el 0 inglés.
My son Nicholas has 0 English language skills.
El nivel más, en el nivel 0 de inglés, pues.
0 English.
Mi hijo me comprometí a estar en todas estas reuniones
But
de padres, de familia.
She has been very involved in our meetings at Cappuccino.
Mi hijo vino a todos los estudios de escuela de verano y demás para aprender el idioma.
My son was attending the summer school, everything that is offered to the students.
Y hoy por hoy, el resultado del GPS de Nicolás es de 4.
Wow. And today, Nicholas' GPA is 4.0.
Wow. Y adicional, ya está en clases regulares de inglés.
And
Ya está con-
additionally,
sí.
he's not in the ELD program, he's in the mainstream classes.
Great. Great.
Gracias.
Lo que quiere decir es que si ustedes, nosotros y los profesores, quienes están de frente a esos estudiantes, nos unimos, podemos lograr mucho con ellos.
So means that if we work together, school, home, we can do the best, right?
No es solo mi caso, el de Jordanka también
It's
es
not-
igualito.
It's not just my case, it's the same case with Jordanka.
La niña de ella, aunque está un año abajo de mi hijo, tiene el mismo promedio de notas y está en el nivel avanzado de inglés ya.
Jordanka's daughter is the same story, from ELT to mainstream, great GPA. Gracias, gracias. Thank you.
I just have a couple more things to say. I think, like President Land said, I think this is my favorite presentation
you.
also. You were
I
right.
told you
You're
this
right.
would
Well,
be
I've
the
never
best
had a
meeting.
presentation like this before, so this is great. The other thing I want to mention is our Wi-Fi wasn't working quite so well recently. So my daughter at Cappuccino, she brought home a hotspot. And I'm not sure if all of our Latino families know that there are hotspots available at Cappuccino and probably other school sites if needed.
Dice que recientemente algunos estaba no funcionando bien con su señal de internet y entonces su hija tuvo acceso a tener lo que le llamamos hotspot para tener
Yeah,
acceso
and
al
it's free.
internet.
Yeah.
Ella quisiera saber si todas las familias saben que tienen acceso a este aparato. ¿Las familias saben?
Yeah, it's district property for you to borrow.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then
They
the other,
do know.
okay, great, great. And then one more thing is that you brought up some very, very important points regarding substance abuse and drug abuse, drug use. We need to talk to our students more about that. My daughter still attends Cappuccino and students there know who has it for sale. And I think it's really important for us to talk about that as parents and also in all of our families. Talk about the
Y
importance.
también está tocando el punto que ustedes, ¿verdad?, recomendaron sobre el abuso de sustancias. Como dijo, su hija está también en Cappuccino y sabe que es algo que es un problema que está pasando.
And lastly, I want to thank Dr. Showman, all the parents involved, and our interpreter. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for working hard for every single student.
Dice
you.
que le quiere dar las gracias a la doctora Schumann, a todos ustedes, a la intérprete y
And the
gracias por
parents in the
estar
back
aquí.
too.
Y a los padres que están también asistiendo, muchas gracias.
Thank you.
I'll go on mute.
Thank you. Trustee Griffin.
Boy, I wouldn't think there's a question left in the world, but anyway, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Your presentation. A lot of good ideas came out of the, all your comments. I do have a question and it has to
Muchas
do with,
ideas maravillosas salieron de esta presentación, pero tiene una pregunta. What is your question?
it has to do with the counseling ratio.
It's about what?
The counseling ratio. You said one of the requests was for a lower student ratio for counselors.
Tiene una pregunta sobre, ustedes hicieron una recomendación sobre bajar el número de estudiantes que tiene cada consejero, ¿verdad? Ustedes quieren que los consejeros tienen menor número de estudiantes.
And so the question is, it just access, where you just need to have access? Or is the quality of the counseling, do you think the quality of the counseling you receive is good?
Quiere saber exactamente si tiene que ver, si es con la calidad de la atención que les están dando a los estudiantes o qué es exactamente.
Por favor. Sorry.
¿Es el
cada-
exceso o es tiempo?
No, es exceso de estudiantes para el personal.
The caseload for the counselors is huge.
O sea, una sola persona abarcando varios estudiantes
One counselor attending so many
no
students.
presta la atención requerida para
Yeah.
ellos.
So the attention is not the same. There's, lack of time.
Algunos procesos de ciertos estudiantes son más largos que otros.
Some students need more one-on-one attention than others.
Y requieren más apoyo y seguimiento del consejero.
They need more time, follow up from the counselor. So I guess it's time.
So it sounds like the quality is in relationship to the time available then. Yeah,
Ujú.
and that's how
Entonces,
it will improve.
sí, la calidad está relacionada al tiempo, ¿verdad? Y que tienen esta cantidad tan grande de estudiantes a los que tienen que servir. Yeah.
The second
That's
question,
correct.
the second question
Segunda pregunta
has to do with the drug abuse.
tiene que ver con el abuso de sustancias, el uso de sustancias.
It's under both the student support and the family support.
Ujú. Se está dando cuenta que esa recomendación la pusieron tanto en la parte de el apoyo a los estudiantes y también en la parte de apoyo a las familias.
So is it really as the students receiving separate support at class above, apart from the family, or would the family and the student ever really be in one, in one support group receiving counseling?
Quiere saber si los estudiantes están recibiendo consejería o apoyo ellos solos o si y las familias por otro lado, o si están juntos.
Tenemos entendido que hay un programa para la prevención de drogas para los estudiantes, pero no es un programa de prevención. Es un programa que ya son estudiantes que han tenido algún tipo de contacto con la sustancia. No es un programa de prevención.
I guess that there's already in place a drug use program. It's for the students, but they are requesting or recommending something like prevention.
Y entonces nosotros a veces nos preguntamos y decimos, si este problema es tan grande, ¿por qué no es un punto fijo en las escuelas de introducirlo de alguna manera?
Yeah, because we know that this is a big issue in our school. So that's why we are recommending that. Why we don't have something in place that is like a regular program, something that it's,
Tenemos banda, tenemos cerámica, tenemos música y no podemos introducir una materia directamente como educacional, para educación
So
para los jóvenes.
we have art, ceramic, music. Why we don't have, we won't be able to have like something related to the drug use as a,
A veces no,
class.
es una palabra que a veces no queremos ni mencionarla. Nosotros los padres y nos asusta,
Sí.
pero debemos de alguna forma tocarla y que nosotros como familia recibamos educación de cómo tratar con nuestros hijos, sobre todo esta problemática.
Para los padres.
Sí, I was just
Quieren
thinking the same
información
thing.
para los padres.
Sí.
Yeah,
For
for parents.
parents.
Yeah, but she's saying like, as a parents, we don't want to talk about this because it's a scary topic. But as a parents, as a families, we need the education about drug use or prevention.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think, again, one of the great ideas here is that we do have health class conversations about drugs with students, but to be more inclusive and to be really make a difference, it has to include families and parents and education with parents, so that there can be ways to how to look for things and how to stop stuff and see what's happening.
So, de hecho, tenemos la clase de salud, ¿verdad? Que es una clase donde los estudiantes aprenden un poco sobre el uso de drogas, pero tal vez entonces tendríamos que ser más inclusivos, tratando de involucrar a las familias para que también las familias tengan esta educación sobre el uso de las drogas. Exactly.
Yeah, because regarding the vaping, and sometimes students can put other drugs in, like, such as marijuana, it could look like a pen, but parents don't know that. So I think having a meeting, a parent informational meeting, Spanish and English both at the same time, to explain and show examples, so for parent awareness.
Yeah, obviamente está corroborando lo que ustedes están sugiriendo. Sabe que, por ejemplo, ahorita el problema con el cigarrillo electrónico, que lo están usando con la marihuana, muchas veces las familias no tienen idea de que eso está pasando. Entonces sí apoya el hecho de que las familias deberían de tener la educación en este tema.
Porque a veces se miran diferentes. A veces no se mira como un cigarrillo. Parece un lapicero.
Sí, yeah, she's right. Looks like a
I was
pen
saying like a
and
pen.
regular pen. Yeah, y ella lo ha visto y en realidad no sabía pues lo que era.
So, okay, sorry.
Perdón. Como madre diría que esa recomendación o ese, para atacar ese punto y esa problemática, debería hacerse desde el primer inicio que el chico entra al colegio, en donde se citen a sus padres y se les haga este tipo de charlas o se les brinde este tipo de educación, porque yo puedo entender que para los profesores debe ser transparente cómo se vive en casa, ¿sí? ¿Cuál es la convivencia?
As a parent, she thinks that since the students starts the school, they need to have this, training or classes or communication.
Y en muchas ocasiones los chicos no toman las drogas de afuera, de sus compañeros, de la calle, sino de ver a sus padres hacerlo.
Sometimes students get access to the drugs not from the students at school, sometimes from home.
Entonces, al hacer el proceso de ingreso al colegio, se debería hacer ese tipo de estudio psicológico en donde se evidencie cómo está el tema familiar de esos chicos.
So probably since the students start school, do assessment to see how is the family situation.
Y quizás en las reuniones de padres de familia, las que tengamos nosotros en los colegios, se citen a profesionales quienes hablen de estos temas.
And during our parent meetings, have access to presentation about this topic.
Va a ser muy difícil que entre padres e hijos nos unamos a hablar de un tema cuando nuestros hijos no quieren decirnos qué está pasando.
It's going to be very difficult to have the training together, parents and children, because they don't want to be in the same room with the parents.
But it could be a good idea.
Pero podría ser una buena idea.
I'm going to turn it back over to Trustee Griffin.
Gracias.
Okay.
Gracias.
There you go.
Yes. Voy a hacer mis preguntas en español. I can translate them, Dulce, if you want to break. Okay. Quería decir que soy parte de diferentes grupos en la comunidad que tienen como apoyos para la prevención de suicidio, de salud mental, cosas así. Perdón. Okay. Cosas así. Entonces, también para prevención de drogas. Así que, como estaba comentando a la señora Chávez, que por favor que si pueden participar en esos grupos también, porque siempre ocupamos más padres de familias que hablan español y que son de nuestra comunidad, si no, no van a saber de lo que está pasando con nosotros. I'm saying that there's different groups and different commissions and different prevention communities that can that are always looking for suggestions and examples, lived experiences from folks that are from our community, and that that they should definitely come and join. Le quería preguntar a las personas que vienen de otros países que hablan idiomas indígenas, ¿cómo son esas comunidades son más difíciles encontrar intérpretes? ¿Qué hacen con esas familias? I was asking when there's families that are coming from indigenous places that don't have languages that we have here in the district, how are those families served?
It is really hard. And actually, we just engaged a bunch of the family engagement coordinators, myself, our social worker, in a workshop or a webinar on how to engage or communicate with our Indigenous families, because we often rely on Spanish, which some know, but not as well. So then we have to outsource to people in the communities. We have one family engagement coordinator from Guatemala, and we're like, okay, who do you know at the consulate? Who do you know that speaks the language? Can you get us someone? And that is where the oral communication becomes really important in the voice messages, because those are our parents who are usually not literate, obviously in English, but not in Spanish either, but can communicate in Spanish. So we do have a ways to go, because we have a lot in our, at least our ELD population, which is in the last few years, majority of our students are from Guatemala. A lot of them have actually indigenous languages. That's why we call them multilingual, because they have the indigenous language, they have Spanish, and they're learning English.
La señora Samia acaba de contestar a la pregunta. Ella está diciendo que es difícil, ¿verdad? Sabemos que en los últimos años tenemos muchas familias que han llegado de Guatemala que hablan lenguas indígenas. Recientemente ella estuvo en un seminario en línea con los coordinadores de participación familiar y con los trabajadores sociales para aprender mejor cómo servir a estas familias.
Yeah, thank you. Es lo que también quería tocar el punto de que no todos, pues, no todas las personas tienen acceso, ¿verdad? Al Internet, a conexiones del Internet. Así que sí, como dice la señora Showman, que es importante a veces que mucho solo es por medio de hablar que tienen esa información, ¿verdad? Yeah, the whole oral communication is so important to some families because, like we were saying earlier, there's no broadband or there's no access to equipment like laptops or smartphones or whatever. Unas 2, 3 más preguntas. ¿Cómo junta directiva, cómo podemos nosotros tener más comunicación y más participación de las comunidades de ustedes, pues de nosotros, pues? Porque el problema que estamos viendo es que mucha gente pues participa, pero no de nuestras comunidades. No es solo la culpa de la comunidad, también nosotros tenemos que ver allí cómo nosotros podemos hacerlo más, cómo podemos pues enganchar más a las personas que puedan venir a participar, a escuchar, a recibir esta información. I'm asking, how as a board can we engage our families a little bit better? Because it's not just a matter of the community coming to us, like we also have to think about how we're engaging the community. So, ¿cómo piensan ustedes?
I heard the question last year and I've been thinking about it all year, and it's a great question. It's challenging. I don't know the answer. I would say though that the success that I heard all year from Jordanka and Andrea, I feels like their experience has been quite good. And so I would say hay mucha representación de familias latinas en Capuchino. Y si es sí, ¿cómo lo hicieron? How did you do it?
Entonces dijo el señor Porras, ¿verdad? Que no está seguro, pero que escuchando de ustedes, de Jordanka y de Andrea, quiere saber qué pasó en Capuchino, cómo hicieron para que tuvieran esta asistencia o involucramiento de las familias.
No soy mucho de adular a las personas, pero en este caso sí lo voy a hacer porque yo creo que la clave principal fue la señora Dulce en la escuela.
Sí. De veras que sí.
Sí.
She thinks that Dulce was the responsible for that engagement.
Precisamente por eso, porque hasta no vivir la experiencia no nos ponemos en la posición de la otra persona, ¿verdad? Y ella, muchos de nosotros los padres latinos nos sentimos identificados porque todos pasamos por lo que ella ya pasó hace muchos años. Nosotros estamos pasando por esto. Y cuando vamos a las...
Seems like because the family engagement coordinator, Dulce Hatch, had the same experience like the families that she was serving. She was able to understand the families, empathy. And that's why she thinks that Dulce, was able to connect with the families.
Mhm.
Cuando llegamos a las reuniones de padres de familia, los maestros, hacen presencia los maestros, las personas, el director de la escuela, hace presencia la persona del área de universidades, del tema profesional, y hacen parte los consejeros de nuestros chicos. Entonces creemos que hacen que nosotros como latinos nos incluyamos en el tema y pues nos hacen sentir importantes.
When we had the Latino parent meetings, usually we had staff attending our meetings, principal, counselors, career center reps, and that makes feel the families important.
So, well,
I just have
Ligia
one more
finish.
question for her. Actually, just two, and that's it. Con las familias, con estudiantes que tienen discapacidades, habíamos tenido unas reuniones con un grupo que se llama Parents Helping Parents. ¿Cuántas personas pues están pudiendo tener acceso a esos tipos de servicios? ¿Y cuántas personas pues no? ¿Y cómo podemos atraer a más padres de familia que tengan tal vez, que no sepan que sus hijos tienen discapacidades y que no se sientan tan aislados porque es un tema muy, a veces muy problemático, pues, porque la gente a veces no lo quiere aceptar. Así que, pero es importante porque los hijos tienen que avanzar. ¿Cómo piensan que podemos salir pues más adelante con eso?
So we did do a series. Our Elsa did partner with Jocelyn Badra this year and the special education department to bring Parents Helping Parents, and we were having those meetings here. And there was a good number of parents participating, although I think moving forward, we've decided to try to do something more internal. So it's very specific to our district, because that is one of our biggest areas of need in terms of what family engagement coordinators have identified as, our parents who are new to learning this system also don't know about special education. They come from countries where there normally are not services for students that have disabilities. And then honestly, the way our system is set up, not in our school district, just by the state, being a newcomer is often an exclusionary factor. So then you can't even qualify or get tested. So a lot of work to do in that area, but it's definitely started to be undertaken.
Yeah, thank you. That's definitely.
Nosotros hemos tenido una serie de talleres para familias con estudiantes que tienen disabilidades con el grupo de Padres Ayudando Padres. Estas presentaciones estuvieron haciendo aquí en la oficina del distrito con la ayuda y colaboración de la señora Elsa Pulido, pero definitivamente es algo en lo que tenemos que seguir trabajando porque sabemos que familias necesitan esa información, apoyo, recursos.
Thank you. Sí, última pregunta, gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have what you made my interest about one thing. I have two things. One of them is funny and one of them is serious. So, this is the funny one first, okay?
Dos cosas más, una chistosa y otra seria.
As parents, we look at our emails several times a day, right?
Ya saben
I
que
don't
como
know-
padres estamos viendo nuestros correos
I don't know
electrónicos
when-
durante el día.
I don't know when this was, but there was a time that I used to receive an email every single week from Dulce Hatch, and I didn't know who that was. Now I know it's you. I don't know if it was for Cappuccino or Parkside, somewhere along the line. It was every single week.
Cappuccino. Dice que muchas veces estuvo viendo mensajes que le llegaban de Dulce Hatch y ahora ya sabe quién es Dulce.
Every week. Nice.
Cada semana.
And then the other thing I want to say that I think is more on a serious note is you were talking about involving more parent engagement, more parent information. And I wanted to ask about, I'm going to bring this back to the school site council that I'm on at Cappuccino. Every school site has a school site council. And I know on the Cappuccino school site council with Mr. Torres, who also has a Spanish interpreter. Is that available? I want to see if we can really put a plug out there to really invite more parents to join any of the school sites and have a Spanish interpreter, because I want parents to know that the school site council meetings, you are throughout the year, you are making decisions for that school site in particular. And I think everybody needs to be at the table for that. They also developed the SIPSA plan. That's the school site plan. And there's going to be a lot in there involved with DLAC. But I just want to make sure that parents know that. And that, is there anything we could do to be welcoming more, to advocate and just put the information out there for parents that some parents don't want to come because they might not speak English. Well, we can have the Spanish interpreter.
Se está refiriendo otra vez al tema del concilio escolar, que es un comité que tienen todas nuestras escuelas, como saben, y ella lo mencionó, ella es parte o estuvo asistiendo a algunas juntas del concilio escolar en la escuela Capuchino. Mencionó que tenemos un padre, el señor Torres, siendo parte del comité, donde se le proporciona un intérprete para que tenga acceso a la información. Le gustaría ver a más padres que son multilingües, siendo parte de estos concilios escolares en cada escuela, que se les proporcione intérprete, herramientas.
And the SIPSAs developed there too. That's important as well.
Porque una de las cosas más importantes que se toman decisiones en los concilios escolares de las
School site
escuelas
plan
es
consent
sobre
students.
el plan escolar de cada escuela.
I'll be brief.
No, I wasn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'll be brief. I want to thank Elsa because this year I became aware of everything you just said. Prior to this year, I was not aware. As a result of that, I have engaged Aragon's students site council to represent ELAC for the very reasons you stipulated, that me as an advocate need to represent our Latino community with the formulation of the plan. So I have a good relationship with Principal Arbizu, and we've started to, have that dialogue. But yes, to your point, 100% agree with the dynamic of that group and what happens there. I would just say, as an open comment to all of you here, that I think there is opportunity with the consistency of how that's held. I've heard from different representatives how some groups happen, some sort of student side council meeting frequency is every month, some are quarterly, some are longer. And so I actually have a question for you, or all of you.
It's monthly at CAP.
Is there like a playbook? Is there like what is best business practice? Where would I know where to go to then advocate for that same sort of level of involvement there?
No, you're right. I think you're right. So to answer that.
Let me
Oh,
thank you.
Por favor.
Sorry.
It's the passion.
Yes.
Es la pasión. Yeah. I'm going to make a summary en español. El señor Porras estaba diciendo y mencionó al principio que gracias a la señora Elsa Pulido, ¿verdad? Él se vino a informar sobre que existía el concilio escolar, así que él este año empezó a participar también en el concilio escolar de su escuela Aragón, representando al grupo de los padres de ILAC, y 100% sabe que hay una necesidad de que los padres multilingües estén involucrados en estos comités donde se hacen las decisiones más importantes de lo que pasa en la escuela. ¿Estoy bien?
Yes, sí, sí.
Sí.
So I wanted to respond with, I think for Cappuccino, there's going to be a link on the Cappuccino school site website with the school site council, the meeting dates. We meet once a month. Every month we meet once a month, except July and August. We do meet at least 10 times a year. And so there's being on the committee myself, the email has the dates, but we need to make sure that it's on the website so we can see the dates for other parents who are interested.
Yeah.
At the beginning of every school, there's a email communication sent a couple of times throughout the first month of school to try to have parents participate.
Está diciendo que como saben que ella ha estado participando en el concilio escolar de las escuelas, le gustaría que hubiera un enlace donde estuvieran todas las fechas de las reuniones para que los padres estuvieran enterados, puedan participar. Definitivamente está insistiendo en que se necesita más representación de las familias multilingües en el concilio escolar de cada escuela.
Para responderte a tu pregunta con más veracidad es, para todo hay un comienzo, para todo hay un inicio. Y como se dieron cuenta, nosotras solo llevamos un año acá en el país y por ende en la escuela. Lo que quiere decir es que a partir de la salida de la señora Dulce de la escuela, que es promovida acá en el distrito.
As you know, we have been here, Jordanka and Andrea, just 1 year. And since Dulce Hatch left Cappuccino High School,
en la última reunión de padres latinos se atacó este tema, no como problema, sino viendo la oportunidad de que teníamos que seguir con el legado que ella dejó.
in our last Latino parent meeting at Cappuccino, parents were discussing this issue that they want to see more families involved and to follow Dulce's legacy.
En donde el director de la escuela y las demás personas que ya nos conocen, que ya nos han visto siendo muy participativa en todas las reuniones de padres latinos, nos han convocado a este tipo de reuniones, solo que no hemos tenido la primera, pero sí vamos a estar presentes en muchas de ellas.
Yeah, so Principal Gomez has, communicate with the families that they're going to keep with the Latino meeting. Latino family meetings, and they're waiting for the next one, the families.
Thank you. I hate being last.
No le gusta ser el último.
But I have less questions, but I have a few things to say.
No tiene preguntas, pero tiene algunas cosas que
Y
decir.
gracias por su español. Entiendo todo, pero hablo muy mal en español. Disculpa. So the rest of this is going to be in English.
He speaks a little bit of Spanish. He understands everything, but now he's going to talk in English.
So first of all, thank you so much, parents. I really appreciate all of the presentation. Dr. Showman, Dulce, all the parent engagement coordinators. If it's because of them and all of you that we've created the DLAC that we have today. And every year we have great recommendations. Again, this is another year where we have excellent recommendations that we really need to take seriously and make sure that staff considers it. And hopefully we can initiate some of the initiatives that you asked today.
Otra vez darle las gracias a las doctoras Schumann, al comité de padres DILAC, a los coordinadores de participación familiar en las escuelas, por este reporte, estas recomendaciones que se hacen cada año a la junta directiva.
And just on a side note, ELAC, so Site Council and ELAC is actually a subsidiary of your site council. So I'm wondering, how might we bring ELAC to site councils on a more regular basis so that there is that connection more often? I hear what Trustee Chavez was talking about, but what we really need is have the whole ELAC from a school go to the site council and do what we're doing here in the same manner and feel kind of together.
Volviendo a la parte del concilio escolar, en este comité tiene que estar representado también el comité ILAC, los padres de estudiantes aprendices de inglés. Le gustaría ver una representación más fuerte de las familias aprendices de inglés participando en el concilio escolar de las escuelas.
So just a couple of comments about some of the recommendations, because I think they're excellent. And I just kind of want to reinforce that. The first one about communications, having translation at informative meetings is critical. And I'm hoping that we can find a way to improve that. So that's an excellent recommendation.
Entonces, va a ser algunos comentarios sobre las recomendaciones que ustedes como DILAC hicieron en el área de comunicaciones. Sí sabe que es una recomendación necesaria donde tenemos que seguir mejorando.
I think talking about Aries communication, we talked about that already, but I still think we need to find a way to help educate parents especially in Spanish, how to actually use the system so that it's to their advantage, that they understand how to look at grades and they know how to do it, and they can do it in a way that works for them so they see it in advance.
Hablamos sobre la plataforma de Aries, donde a la conclusión que llegamos es que debemos de educar más a las familias en cómo usar ese sistema para que tengan acceso a ver las calificaciones y la información que provee la plataforma.
I think the recommendation that has been said in the past, but I'm going to say it again, more robocalls in Spanish, more texts, other means of communication other than just emails is going to be critical. And I'm glad that you made that recommendation.
Y obviamente la recomendación que están haciendo sobre más llamadas automáticas en español, más textos, menos correos electrónicos.
Just talking about, I was trying to think outside the box when you made academic recommendations. One of the things that I think needs to happen, and I don't know how possible this is, but having after hours counseling for families, especially EL parents, how can we do that in some way? That's something that I'd love staff to kind of look into. I don't know how possible it is, but it's something to think outside the box of how to reach families who really want to know how to work the system and what classes need to be taken and what roles and things we can do for colleges and community college.
En las recomendaciones académicas, definitivamente que tuvieran acceso las familias a ver a los consejeros en horas después de regulares, después del trabajo. No sabe qué tan posible pueda ser eso, pero se tiene que discutir, y también más acceso a las oportunidades de carreras.
And then talking about tutoring, I think that's outstanding. It was so glad to hear the amount of tutoring that's been going on, and I hope that we can expand it to other schools.
Y ojalá que los programas de tutoría para los estudiantes aprendices de inglés se puedan expandir a otras escuelas.
I think we've already talked about the drug education, but the other thing that was brought up with the social emotional support is, and I heard Walter, did I get that right? Yes. Robert. Sorry, Robert. Mentioning the extracurricular activities, how to pair up buddies, how to get into the mainstream activities and extracurriculars so that EL students feel a part of the school and connected to the school more. That's a hard question to ask, but it's an answer that we need to figure out. And I think we need to explore that even further. So.
Otra vez sobre sus recomendaciones sobre más educación en el área del uso de drogas, prevención de drogas, también en el área socioemocional apoyando a los estudiantes, sobre la recomendación que hacen de tener más actividades extracurriculares donde los estudiantes aprendices de inglés se puedan integrar a la comunidad escolar.
I think one other point that was made was about English classes for parents and to learn English, and trying to figure out how can we access our adult school, maybe have satellite campus, classes at the schools. How can we make that happen? I think that might be an opportunity that we, again, thinking outside the box, what can happen.
Y ver más la opción de tener oportunidades para las familias para que puedan tomar clases para aprender inglés y tratar de tener estas clases para las familias en las escuelas directamente.
So I hope staff, we have a lot of great recommendations. I'm hoping that we can look into these and explore them. And that's what we do every year. And I hope we can continue doing that. So without any further ado, thank you so much for being
Muchas
here. It was
gracias.
outstanding. Gracias mucho por todos.
Muchas gracias. Sus recomendaciones fueron maravillosas. Le está diciendo a los miembros de la Junta Directiva que tienen mucho que hacer y muchas gracias por su participación.
Gracias.
José, gracias por traduzca todo.
Gracias.
Thank you so much.
All right. So without further ado, we are going to a staff recruitment video.
No,
Thank you.
The
Or is there
the
a,
book stuff, the book.
no,
right?
I have staff.
Oh, is the
recruitment
videos
rec-
next?
Yeah,
Oh my
that's
God.
first and then book talk.
Yep. So
We may
tonight-
need a break.
So thank you, President Land. Tonight, I'd like to unveil another short video from our communications team created with the help of videographers from Voller Strategic Advisors. This is a recruitment video for classified positions for which we have frequent openings. And after tonight, we're going to post the video on our website. We'll also have a few shorter sizzle reels, which we'll promote on social media. I'm not going to present those here, but tonight's video is just one example of our work with our communications team, Laura Chalkley and others. Great job. Just engaged in to promote our district and the great work we're doing, and especially to recruit more educators to join our team in service to our students. So here's a brief video. You know, we have a strong culture here in San Mateo Union. It doesn't matter what role you play. It doesn't matter if you're in HR or in business services, if you're in nutrition, if you're a payroll technician. It doesn't matter. You're all educators. And for people looking to come to San Mateo Union, you know, we're looking for people who want to have that direct impact on kids, that want to change the lives of kids. And I think that's one of the special things about this place is that we do change the lives of kids year in and year out. And I'm really proud of that.
It's very, very rewarding, and I was actually an ELD student myself, so I connect with them a lot and like the struggle of it. So it's been really nice seeing them, their growth through the past 2 years, where they started and where they're at now, and how much they've grown as people. Actually seeing those like relationships evolve and like being able to speak with them and seeing them, you know, come out of their shells, even though we don't all speak the same languages, is very nice.
As far as the flexibility goes, it's always been wonderful. I've been through many things with my kids, many things with my family where I've had to just drop and go, or somebody else has had to drop and go, and the team environment just allows us to take over wherever that person has, you know, dropped off for the day or the week or whatever. And I've never had an issue in an emergency or non-emergency, just anything that had to do with being a mom. The hours are great. You can drop off your kids in the morning and then you can pick them up in the afternoon. And a lot of kids don't even know that you've even been at work. So that part is really, really wonderful.
No, it really feels good. It for me personally, it feels as if the district wants me to achieve much more within our district and specifically in my department. So it feels good. I love the support. Working for this district, you will feel wanted. You will feel a part. You will feel that this district is here to help you succeed in whatever it is that you want to do. Even if you have little to no experience, this district is the perfect place to at least start your career and whatever that may be.
Yeah, I love the community and the people. I love that, you know, I get to come to work and there's a lot of excitement, you know. We have 1,600 kids here at San Mateo High School. So there's a lot of bodies, you know, so you have a lot of personalities here, and also enjoy just, you know, building relationship with teachers and the faculty here, colleagues and my staff, and having those relationships that we build. So, you know, for one, my staff is like, you know, it's a close relationship that we build. We spend a lot of time together, and we help each other out. You know, we have one goal, and that's just to make this campus the best it can be as far as like the appearance from the outside and the operation on the inside. So those things are very rewarding. That's why I love working for the San Mateo Union High School District.
Yeah, that's a great video.
That was well
That
put
was
together.
great. Mhm.
Very professional. Who does this? Really? Outstanding. I need to learn some techniques here when, when you're
very
creating
good.
videos. It's very professional. Anyway, I think it's great that we're doing this. So,
Thanks. Yeah, we'll continue.
Yeah. We are moving on to our next thing, which is our book, our study. All right, now we've turned into a study book group, which I think is awesome. So
for the sake of time, I'm going to go quick, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and so for the community, we're reading together a book entitled "The Governance Core." Thank you for putting that up. Let's see. There we go. This is a book by Davis Campbell and Michael Fullen. Both are premier authors and educators. And really the purpose of why we're having this book study is to come together. I wrote it in red there. It's a professional governance team, and it's to help us facilitate excellent conversations and discussions about, one, our roles and responsibilities, to better understand that, especially to have that structure and that know-how when we have to tackle some complex issues. And when we really know our roles and responsibilities, when we understand our structures, it gives us that buttressing and support that we need to dive into harder conversations. And it's also to demonstrate and exemplar for our community that we're continuous learners, that we need to continue to learn our craft as a governance team. Let's see, click forward. There we go, somewhere. I'm pushing buttons. So there's a lot on the slide, but what I'm basically doing is I asked the board to take a look at the introduction, politics, governance, and system improvement, as well as chapters 1 and 2. And I've developed a slide that really, the introduction asks the question, how can we become an exemplar of highly effective decision-making, leadership, and action? And what does that mean? What does that word effective mean in this book? It means that we can make significant, measurable improvements in the learning and lives of all students under their, meaning the Board of Trustees, watch and care. And we do that through having a unity of purpose driven by a shared moral imperative. Our unity of purpose, our vision as a governance team, a school board, a superintendent, we work together as a cohesive team with a common vision. And we have a vision out of our it's on our website, where it reads that all students will learn in a safe, inclusive, and an equitable environment that validates, respects, and honors their unique backgrounds, interests, and identities. And so if we've got this vision, it also needs to be coupled with this idea of a shared moral imperative. And we can come up with our own, but one of the things they call out in this book, an example of a shared moral imperative, is a relentless commitment to the learning of all students, no exceptions. I actually love that shared moral imperative. It goes above and beyond our vision. It's kind of our drive. What are we called to do? Almost emotionally, what are we called to do in this work? Okay, it's working. Awesome. So in this introduction, it covers governance, talks about, as a governing team, what are they supposed to be doing? What are you all supposed to be doing? Setting the direction of the district, assuring achievement of strategic goals and the moral imperative, holding the district accountable, providing leadership to the community, thus fulfilling its responsibility to all children and the community it serves. What we did just now in working with the DLAC is that idea of providing leadership to the community, empowering the community to give us feedback, and then holding the district accountable, as President Land said, to take those recommendations and what can we do as a staff to continue building and working together. Positive drivers. You need positive drivers to do this work. What is a positive driver? It's a policy intended to make positive difference in practice. And so what are those positive drivers? What are these policies? Because we talk about policies all the time when the board passes policies. Another word, it can be synonymous, is positive drivers. Do they build capacity? Is there continuous improvement in our policies? Is there collaboration? Is teamwork and learning from others built into our policies? Pedagogy or instructional practices built into our policies? And a systemness, contributions to the organization rather than the individual. So do our policies really look at the whole, or are they looking at just a small subset of our students? Chapter 1 talks about the moral, I'm not going to read all this, but it talks about the moral imperative and the governance core. It's continuing to try to define that, about how well boards carry out their governance responsibilities, in many ways determine the quality of the education for the children they serve. It is not a mystery that highly functioning boards equate to highly functioning districts. When you see dysfunctional boards, you tend to see dysfunctional districts. It definitely starts at the top. So we've talked about, and I have espoused really since the day I've gotten here, how lucky I am to be part of a professional board. This is a highly functional board, and it begets a highly functional district. And so there's a number of quotes I pulled from the book that tries to define what this idea of the nature of governance is: keeping focused on key priorities, defining the what of the organization. That's what the board does. The administration is focused on how the policy gets implemented. So what our roles and responsibilities are. A connection, like we just did, between communities and professionals, between policies and application, between strategy and tactics. In really everything this book talks about, the board's role is to strategize. The three sitting across the dais from me, myself, our role is the tactical. And I get it. I've worked with enough boards over the years. Sometimes the strategic is super boring. Like board members, especially type A, they just want to get on school sites and roll up their sleeves and do the work. And that's good sometimes, but when you have boards that do that too much, then it gets in the way and you don't have that wide view angle. Governance is not just about passing policies, it's not just passing policies. It is what boards and superintendents do together and how they do it. So highly functional districts also have a governance team where we work together. And when I say we, it's not just me, but it's cabinet and district administration. When we're lockstep in how we approach one another, that doesn't mean we have to be lockstep in our agreements, but how we work together, how we approach one another, how we listen to each other, that also begets a really high functioning district. It also talks about a cohesive, unified team working together to create a common vision driven by that shared moral imperative. And so I wrote these quotes up there because I'm asking myself, are we this? And can we grow? Even if we are, how can we grow into more of this over time as a team? That's basically chapter 1. Chapter 2, trustee governance mindset, having that mindset in everything we do. And what does it mean? I already said this, kind of understanding the roles and responsibilities and how individual trustee leadership can enhance the positive value-added impact of the governance process. Understanding the difference between governance and administration and curriculum instruction, and understanding that ambiguity of the gray area that exists between the two. You know, when do I roll up my sleeves and when do I be more strategic, and having that push and pull? And when we're unsure, asking one another, hey, can I push in this one? Do I pull back? You know, what should we do? And let's have that conversation together so we're all on the same page. They try in this chapter to define the governance mindset, keeping the board's focus on the kids, watching the budget. We're going to have a budget study session coming up soon, keeping focused on the long-term goals, building and maintaining strong governance structure, and so on and so forth. So they try to define this for you. And so I encourage the board to think about this. You know, where do you stand? Where do you feel you're strong? Where do you feel like you need to grow, and in what areas? Systems thinking is huge. Governance is a systems job. It's high performing trustees with a governance mindset are first and foremost systems thinkers. How do our systems work? Do they support every child? Do they support every community member? Right? The feedback we got from the DLAC was really about our systems, how we can improve our systems to support them and ultimately their children as learners. Systems thinking is about stepping back and seeing those patterns, right? How are we seeing this at every single school site? What policies do we have in place? What systems do we have in place? They talk a lot about trustees need to be in the helicopter making system decisions, not on the fire line fighting fires. If you put a fire hose in the hands of a trustee, they will get out of the helicopter and fight that fire. They will, because type A, you want to dig in. That's not always the best place to be. Another metaphor they use in this book is watching a dance performance. Board members are not on the dance floor. And I know it's fun to be on the dance floor. That's a really cool place to be. Where you're really supposed to be is up in the balcony. So you see all of the choreography. You don't just see the prima ballerina. You see all of the choreography. That's really the place of the board member. And Mr. Childress acknowledged this today earlier, a wide angle lens with strong peripheral vision. The ability to focus on one thing, absolutely, but see the surrounding landscape and understand the impact on everything there. Focus, 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 right? Strategic thinking versus strategic planning. Strategic thinking equals the mindset that drives the work of governance. Strategic planning, that's the work of the organization's staff as they develop specific operational goals, projects, and plans to implement your strategic thinking. And so that's how we work as a team. Again, I'm just going fast. And above all, we need to be learners and listeners. And I really like this figure they have in the book around this definition of what it means to listen as it's drawn out in Chinese characters. It's not just about the ear, but the eyes and the undivided attention and the heart. So much of that makes up really what empathic listening is. And that's what I watched tonight as you all were focused on our DLAC presentation. That was met, at least from my perception, with a tremendous amount of empathic listening. It wasn't just listening to what they were saying, but what they were feeling, and it hit all of you in many ways. That's why we spent so much time on it, right? Because we were feeling it. And then for us to have purposeful action. The value of the board is in the strategic oversight, right? The board brings the passion, I just talked about that, the drive, the commitment to achieve that moral imperative. And you're not distracted by the day-to-day. You can't be. If you are, you're not keeping that wide lens. That's our job. We get distracted by the day-to-day. It's not distracting, it's our gig. It's what we signed up for. Your job is to see the whole. So we're going to do this book study. We're going to jump in May 4th, chapters 3 and 4, May 18th, June 8th, June 22nd. I know it's an easy read. I'll do these brief presentations each time, but with that, I'm just going to open it up. If there's any comments, questions, feedback, and it's all yours.
So from my point of view, I think it's an open discussion of what you thought, what you hoped. So I'm not going to have the usual you, then you, then you. It's just let's talk as a study session or just a book club where we're discussing it. So anyone want to just speak up, just talk, and if nobody does, I'll go for it. I'll go for it. Since I've been last so much, I'm going to go first. You know, the one thing that really resonates with me is this idea of purposeful action. I think, and not to be critical of our board, but I feel like sometimes we're a bunch of words and we talk a lot, but we're not really concentrating on our actions and what the action is of the district, the purposeful action. And so tonight was a good example of where I see hope, because we listened, we asked questions, we saw initiatives from DLAC, we listened to our collaboration, our partners, and there's some action involved. There's some steps that we need to take that, you know, where we're saying, hey, staff, these are some great ideas. I hope that we initiate these ideas. And I think for me, that's that whole kind of thing that Randall's talking about from the first two chapters is we have a moral initiative. We want to help our underserved families. We want to help our DLAC and our ELs. How do we do that? And that's our initiative. And listening to them and saying, hey, here's some really great ideas. How are we going to implement that? To me, that's that purposeful action that I think we need to do. And sometimes I feel like we're spending more time on our front end of our meeting to talk about what we've done and things, and we're not taking time to really focus on like this meeting where it's like we got some recommendations and what are we going to do about it. So that's where I come from.
Yeah, you know, Trustee Land, on page 34, and that makes me think of this, says every action has a reaction. Each action will produce some desired results and almost certainly unintended consequences elsewhere in the system. And it makes me think of like the systems thinking and the strategic thinking, like we were talking about earlier, about like long term. What is this decision going to say to the community? And what is it going to do to our community for years to come? So it just makes me think about all of this, all of the things we've been approving, all of the things that we've been seeing with DLAC. So it just really made me think about like strategic and long-term goals.
Nice.
Well, I want to say that I'm not the best person to write book reports. So I think that if Randall, if Superintendent Booker and anybody else put this together, probably Booker did, Superintendent Booker, I could have used this how do you say
Cliff
it?
notes.
Yeah, the Cliff Notes for my reports in college and high school. Because I have notes, but they are not to, this is just a great summary.
Thanks.
But I also want to make a couple comments, but so thank you for the summary. Like on page 14, I know my notes aren't as good as this handout, but on page 14, I really appreciate being part of this board that exists right here, because I really do think that this embodies us, that we are working together, our school board and our superintendent and a cabinet as well, working together to maximize individual student learning. I feel like every time I listen to my colleagues speak about something, I know it's because you care about students. You're not saying this unless you care about students. You're passionate about what subject we're talking about. You're asking questions about curriculum. Whether we agree fully on something, I feel like we're respectful of one another. If we disagree, we have a difference of opinion. I feel like this group, to Superintendent Booker's comment earlier about, I think you said that you were, I'm trying to paraphrase this. You said that you were very, not hopeful. You were very appreciative of a professional board that you were part of when you were first hired, and hopefully you still feel it's professional. I know we had a little bit of a change here on the board. I feel like this is a real professional group where we respect one another's opinions, and if they differ, they differ, but we respect that. We're more than willing. We want to ask questions. Why do you think this? What made you think that? And sometimes that's why we're here at the board table. Well, that is why we're here at the board table, to discuss our own opinion and maybe change another person's opinion, maybe add to their opinion, maybe prompt them to think a different way, or to, I was prompted sometimes, and I don't mean to interrupt somebody, but when I hear Leah talking or President Land, when I hear someone talking and I think, hey, that just made me think about something else I wanted to add to my comment, because we kind of, we have a collaborative effort here. And also on page 15, about the what and the how. The governance is about defining the what of the organization, and the administration focus on the how. That's really important. I know that's a theme that CSBA is all throughout CSBA. And I lost my little sticky here, but I'll go off this. Actually, it's on here as well on the slide. A cohesive, unified team working together, and that's what I strive for. That's my hope, is that our team will be that cohesive, unified team working together. And I think we are. I just want to see that even get stronger. And as the months go on, as the years go on.
I wanted just to add to what you're saying. One of the concerns that I have, and early in the book, it talks about politics and it talks about governance. I think one of the things that, I mean, especially in some of our study sessions, we've gotten caught up in the politics. And the politics are about power and who's, how many emails do we get, and who's saying what, and how forceful do we need to be, and where's our group coming from, and how do I support that group? And that's the politics, and it plays a part, which I like in this book, because it talks about how we're supposed to have politics, because politics is about power and moving things. But governance is that unified vision to say, hey, we need purposeful action. So it's really trying to marry the two together. We can come in and disagree with each other. You and I are going to disagree on something. You and I are going to disagree on something. And we have the same mindset that we want to help kids. I mean, we totally believe that. And I know that. And I know every one of us believes that. And so at some point, we're going to have to understand that we're coming from different perspectives, and we're going to disagree, but we have to move forward. And if we're going to vote a certain way, then we vote a certain way. And it may not be a 5-0 vote. It may be a 3-2, or maybe a 4-1, but we're moving in that direction. And if we do go that way, it's that rowing of the boat. Because again, my other role as a principal, I'm a rower, and so we're rowing that boat as part of the staff. And so we've told them that's where we're going. So we have to support that's the direction we're going in. We might not have agreed originally, but that's the direction we're going in. We have to support that. When we think we're going in the wrong direction, then we say, wait, let's as a group talk about it and change direction, but we're not there yet. And that it's funny, because I love the part about the Greek word of what governance come from, which is steering the boat. And I was like, that's what it is we are help steering the boat. You're the main guy on the hen, you're the captain of the boat, but we're letting you know which direction to go in. And it's like, if we're not heading in the right direction, we need to change gears and go in a different way. So I really do enjoy the book, but I think politics, we got to be careful of that. I mean, I've been in a lot of boards where sometimes you're listening to the audience just because the audience is powerful. And that's politics. And sometimes we have to go, okay, wait a minute, maybe we got to figure that out. And some, you know, and in our study session, we had two politics. We didn't have just one voice coming at us. We had two very strong voices coming at us. And it's sort of like, well, yeah, we have to hear that, but then we have to evolve and say, okay, what's right, what's wrong, and then what's the right direction to go in. Anyway, that's platitude. Sorry.
I certainly hope the next time we discuss it, it's not 10 o'clock at night, because I
Not
think
10
we
o'clock
were-
yet, but we will.
Well, it will be very
Yeah.
shortly. So, you know, I was looking at the 5 major themes, and I think one of them, I don't know why it was number 2 on the list, was the shared moral imperative, because I think if we all keep that first and foremost in our minds, we can't, well, I can't guarantee we won't go wrong, but I certainly would think we couldn't go wrong if we all had that as our primary purpose. And I know, looking at that, and I've seen a lot of boards, and I've seen a lot of board members and a lot of boards, and I've probably seen some of the best and some of the worst. That, you know, the things there really did stand out, you know, like the good governance. And one thing I've done, which sometimes I question, is leadership from the middle, in terms of really trying to be balanced in my views and being a good listener. And I think we do have unity of purpose, but anyway, it was a read. It wasn't necessarily pleasant, but I mean, you know,
Aw.
It's all right. I didn't write it.
It was homework.
It was homework.
Yeah, I mean, it was homework, and I've got enough work that I don't need homework. But
It was good though. I do want to say I'm empathetic and compassionate with you, because I'm on the same wavelength.
yeah,
I'm not a great reader. And when the Cliff Notes came out, I said, I wish I would have had this. I could read this and then read.
I love
I'm
how
a-
my board has just reverted to 15-year-olds. So fantastic.
but the thing
15
about
minutes.
that, if I think something, and I've always said this, if I think something and don't say it, I'm not being an honest, authentic person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I have to say that, because, you know, and I'll say the other thing, and I meant to shut up the last comment. I felt like I had a commitment to read this because everybody else was going to read it.
Yeah.
And that was important. It
Thank
wasn't
you.
pleasant, but it was important.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
enough
No,
said.
Yeah.
I think that's,
agree.
I'm kind of with you though. I as the educator in the room, I'm feeling guilty because I was tortured, because I'm like, oh, I gotta get this done.
Yeah.
And I went back to high school. I did this last minute. I did this last night. I did this last night, to be very honest with you.
Well,
So
I'm a slow
Yeah.
reader, and it took me a long time. I read some last week and then some last night
Yeah.
to finish it.
Yeah.
And then Trustee Jacobson said, did you finish chapter 2 yet? I go, not yet.
Yeah, I was still working on chapter 2 today, but I think this is a worthwhile exercise. I especially need it, probably as the newest member, or someone who hasn't been on a school board before. The learning curve has been steep, and it's still a lot to go for me. And I'm trying to approach it as with that deep learning mindset. I remember when I first came on the board, you gave me the dance floor and the balcony analogy. And so that's a very good way to think about it. And yeah, I think that this is a worthwhile exercise. I'm learning a lot and looking forward to applying it.
Yeah, President Land, we don't need to belabor it. I just wanted to share
I think it's
with the
important.
community as well, you know, what we're going for.
I think it was important, and I think we should talk as much as we could on it, but I mean, you know, a couple minutes more and we can move on.
No, I agree with Trustee Jacobson. I think it's also like soul searching, really. I think whether we've been on boards or not, I mean, there's always things we can learn. We're not perfect. So this is good stuff. Thank you.
Okay, with that,
Through the chair, I want to see if I can make a motion to extend our meeting till 11 o'clock. It doesn't.
actually, we
it
do
doesn't-
that at 10 o'clock.
Well, it is 10. You could do it anytime
Not
before 10.
really. It's at 10.
I mean, you could do it anytime before 10.
We just check it. Yeah.
Okay.
So we can check in right now. So
Okay.
checking in, are we, so past practice has always been about 10 o'clock. We
Oh,
kind of
okay.
go, hey, we keep going, we
keep
stop, and what do
Yeah.
we do? So I'm going to ask the board what we usually do at this time, which is, do you want to keep going or do we want to stop for the night? So
I would like to make a motion to extend it to 11. It doesn't mean we need to stay to 11, but it lets us go until we finish the agenda. Because I know there's some important things on here that need to be voted on tonight.
is there a second on that?
I'll second. If
Okay.
we have, can we just speed up the
Yeah,
voting?
it doesn't
though?
mean, I want to reiterate, that doesn't mean we need to stay till 11, but I would
Okay,
like to
we'll
finish
get
the
to the
agenda.
voting first and then everything else leave for the next meeting? It's not as important.
We can okay, so I would amend, as a chair, I would say,
Right.
you should amend her
the-
motion,
yeah.
say, I would, and state it the way you want to state
Sure.
it, but
Well,
Yeah, I would like to amend the
Yeah.
motion that we meet until 11 if we have to, but move up all of the important voting ahead of time.
what would that be? Because I know there's.
I
folks in
think
the
we're talking
audience,
about which is the US history course of study.
Right,
If I could jump in, President Lando, every single item left,
is a vote.
except for graduation
Yeah.
attendance is a vote.
And we're gonna need
So-
to do that too.
Yeah.
So I would say just. let's
So I would
stick
say,
with
I
the
would say, go
original.
back
Sure.
to the original.
Okay.
Again,
we'll amend it.
motion,
I'll second.
motion made by trustee Chavez, seconded by trustee Andrade Zuniga to extend the meeting to 11 o'clock if needed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. That was a reluctant aye. Okay, and anyone saying no? Okay, motion passed. We go to 11 if we have to.
Any other time we stay till we.
I know.
Ooh.
But
The
she
board-
read the bylaws. and
Board
she's right.
bylaw, yeah, the
We
board
usually do.
bylaw, because my other board, and my other school just, we did that.
Yeah.
Our
Just-
board bylaw,
just to be
92,
clear-
9323.
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
historical practice has been, we just kind of check on each other. It's like, could we want to keep going? Yeah, let's keep going. That's just how we've done it. It's kind of informal. It works. And I'm hoping we can do that in the future, but the motion works.
I
We're
guess
going
I'm
to
just a
11.
Parliamentarian at heart here.
I can see. All right. So
Okay.
without further ado, thank you very much for 1, 2, 3. We are now into construction, approval of Goodland Landscape Construction. Turn it over to Yancy.
Thank you, President Land. Before you is change order 3 for the Goodland construction projects at Cappuccino and Mills that we've had some wonderful openings at. Thank you, Ms. Chalkley. And so this puts us a little bit under 6% on the total change order contingency. I do expect one more, much smaller change order to finalize, and we do the notice of completion. So happy to answer any questions.
I will move adoption.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. I was just going to ask, what's the cost differential between the two? I was
Of
the two schools, like the change orders together.
I'll have to get that back. We've been looking at it financially. We've really been looking at it as a single contract.
Okay.
I have that data. I just don't have it in front of me.
An email's fine.
You got it. Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none.
President
Motion
Land, who seconded the motion? I apologize.
I did.
It was Leah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You mean, okay. All right. Moving on to Division of Human Resources, Dr. Black.
We have the consent agenda, personnel actions, adult school transfers, and a counseling intern agreement with Palo Alto University.
Okay, so how do we personnel action at first?
It's
Consent?
consent. I think you can do
It's
all
consent.
that.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3 consent. Any motion for
I
consent?
move to approve.
I'll
Consent.
second.
Okay, motion made by trustee Jacobson, seconded by trustee Andrade Zuniga. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That covers personnel consent agenda. Okay, next part, Division of Human Resources.
Just the personnel actions addendum, no recognitions tonight.
Okay. Motion in a second.
I move.
Okay, motion by trustee Andrade Zuniga,
I'll second.
seconded by trustee Chavez. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried 5-0. Memorandum of Understanding.
Yes, this item is with the CSEA unit, the two MOUs that we've had the last couple of years, one to allow certain classifications to work from home up to 45 days per year. And then the summer MOU for summer work allows folks to work 4 days instead of 5 days, working the same amount of hours that they would have in 5 days, but over the course of 4 days.
4 10-hour days.
Yeah, it's
For example.
3, 9, and 1, 9.5,
Oh, right.
because it's 37 and a half.
You're right,
Yeah.
right.
If no discussion, I'll move.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by trustee Andrade Zuniga, seconded by trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Approval of instructional lead teacher. We've talked about this.
What's that?
I think we talked about this. Go ahead.
We did, yeah. Well, so we're redesigning our instructional leadership. This job description is kind of like a bridge to get before we get to where we're going. It's a 1-year job description for 4 different positions, and
Okay.
they're stipend positions.
Stipended.
Stipended.
Okay. Questions? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, motion made by trustee Andrade Zuniga,
I'll second.
seconded by trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We are making it to now the Division of Instructional Services. Superintendent Booker,
Thank you.
U.S. History Course of Study Proposal.
So just very briefly, before I hand it over to Dr. Kemke, I want to say for the Board of Trustees and community members, both here in the audience and watching at home online, just how appreciative I am of the dialogue, the engagement. We talk about wanting engagement all the time, right? And then when we get it, sometimes we complain, it's too much engagement, too many emails. And if I'm going to be like glass half full, the engagement's good. It's going to make our program better. I'll tell you, for myself personally, I mean, I've done course of studies for, I don't know, 25, 27 years now. And I learn every time, and this is no exception. I've learned again through this process. So I appreciate all the engagement. I may not always agree with differing points of views, but that doesn't mean I'm not listening, and it certainly doesn't mean I'm not learning. I've learned a lot over the last several weeks on all this, and especially since November. So with that, just big thanks to everyone, and I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Kemke.
Okay.
I agree.
Oh, I wish it was yours too. Okay, anyway.
So, Mr. Simmons here with me tonight, and we're just going to go briefly over some of that was requested last week at the board study session. Really, I think we know the timeline. This
Yep.
started back in March 21. Last week, we kind of ended with the board study session, and here tonight, we're looking to bring the course of study before a vote. And we appreciate, again, the engagement around this. Just a quick comparison between this two courses. Our course of 2022, so you can see, has a lot more components. Partially the reason that you see some of these updates is it's just supportive to our teachers. There are content outcomes. There are course framing questions, and the historical narrative there is a lot more robust directly from the framework. You'll see also kind of the difference between the two course descriptions. Really, our new course has more focus on this idea of historical empathy, which is such a great skill for our students to develop through the course of this class. And then I'm just going to click through these slides. These are each one of the student outcomes in the comparison between our 2018 course and our 2022 course. The first one is just the difference in wording. Again, it's important that we note one of the big updates on this course of study is creating more sophisticated verbs so that we're really asking for a depth of knowledge when we're working with students. So you'll see a difference here between understand and evaluate, and you'll see that with each one of these course outcomes. So this one's focused in on the foundational ideals of the country. Next one is talking about historical interpretations. One's from the course goals from 2018, and the other one is from the student outcomes and the content outcomes. And then role of the United States in global politics. Again, you'll see some more sophisticated language for this content goal. It's considered a student outcome in the 2018 course of study. Again, appreciating the sophistication that the teachers put into these course goals as we move forward. And am I passing it over to you now?
This is my
Mr.
spot here.
Simmons?
No worries. Thank you. Good evening, board. As indicated in this slide, we can see that while this is basically the same outcome, the depth and breadth of inquiry into the impact of immigration and migration patterns is clearly more deep in that second essential question. And so, for example, a teacher would have taught about the Great Migration, for example, back in the previous course of study of African Americans from the South to the North in the first half of the 20th century. But this new course of study would spend more time doing an in-depth review of sort of the push and pull factors that caused African Americans to move to the North, as opposed to just they moved and here's what happened. Next slide, please. This comparison of the 2018 and 2022 outcomes is an example of how the new course of study goes more deeply into the reasons for our struggles for equality and freedom, not merely asking students to explore generally. Again, this is another example of the revised course of study really raising the depth and rigor of understanding of our history. Next slide, please. This new outcome related to ensuring that students learn about and inquire into the role, size, and scope of the federal government was a critically important omission in our current course of study. Including the new course of study addresses that significant omission. Next slide, please. And then this final slide of our crosswalk is related to ensuring that our students understand and interrogate the traditional or dominant narratives in American history, both to understand how power relations have informed that narrative, but also so as to understand the agency and action that those who were on the wrong side of power relations responded to and resisted dominant power dynamics. For example, in this new course of study, we prompt our teachers to ensure that the history of women and sexism, which has historically been de-emphasized, or more often than not even invisible, teaching narratives about the history of women alongside other aspects of political and social history helps our students to get a fuller picture of our history. This kind of inquiry is also directly aligned to the standards for historical thinking, which are in some ways the most important skills emphasized in the proposed course of study. I'll let you finish up.
And with that, that was just our overview comparison, the crosswalk that was asked for last week. So we are just setting it before you. If there's any additional questions, we're happy to address them. Otherwise, we're recommending for the approval of the United States History course of study.
I just want to say thank you for the crosswalk. I know that was one big thing that a bunch of us asked for and really appreciate it. I think connecting the language from what was to what is in the depth, I think was, thank you so much for doing that. So that clarifies quite a bit. Before I open it up to the board, I do have one speaker who'd like to speak. Is there anyone on camera, on virtual, that would like to speak with their hand raised?
Just want to acknowledge
No, there's
that-
none.
Okay.
Sorry, that Michael Zoso is here too.
Hi, Michael. Good to see you.
Just
Thank
present
you
for
for
the-
waiting.
When we have the board comments or questions, he might be able to support and answer. Okay. But for now, I'm going to go to the one speaker, Andrew Nemicolo. Come on now.
Hi, thank you, board, for the time. I know it's a long evening for all of you, and I know that care and concern you have for our kids. My name is Andrew Nemicolo. I'm a parent of a current high school student here in San Mateo in the district, and I'm asking, speaking about this particular proposal, and asking you to pause on this proposal and keep the U.S. history curriculum as is for the time being, specifically around outcome number 4. And I know in last week's meeting, the revised curriculum was defended as being supposedly skill-based. However, these newly proposed outcomes, specifically outcome number 4 around hegemony, which obviously is a terrible thing, but it's not reflected in the skills associated with the California state guidelines, so I understand, nor in those of the American History Association. And yet our district is asking to add in additional outcomes that are not recommended by the state. My question is, why is that? The American History Association, which is one of the largest associations of professional historians in the world with over 11,000 members, defines 5 broad categories of competencies that students should learn from history classes. And the proposed outcome number 4 is not among them. There are things like chronological thinking, research skills, comprehension, analysis and interpretation, and analysis and decision-making. And if students can develop these competencies and apply those skills, the AHA would say that they're able to do things and demonstrate skills such as compare and contrast different sets of ideas, values, personalities, behaviors, and institutions, differentiate between historical facts and historical interpretations, identify central questions in historical writing, and come to their own conclusions about purpose, perspective, or a point of view. In other words, academically rigorous, culturally and intellectually curious. And I agree, we should equip all of our students with the skills to form and develop their own points of view, not my point of view or any other parent's particular point of view on a controversial topic, not the board's view, and not the view of a particular classroom teacher. Our students deserve that intellectual freedom. I'd like to ask that we think about teaching them how to think, not what to think. But I am concerned we're heading a little bit in towards the directions of what to think. At recent school board meetings, some district staff have clearly stated the goal of expanding the already controversial ethnic studies curriculum into other parts of the school day. And we've heard that you can't teach things like that unless you look solely through the lens of victims and oppressors. When there's many, that's certainly a factor, but there's many, many other factors. And I think we've seen this risk of groupthink spreading from one area of the school curriculum here in our district, potentially into the U.S. history curriculum. It's intellectually uncurious, and potentially we've seen in this very room visibly dismissive of alternate viewpoints. So I'm for ones that may not conform to particular teachers' personal views. So I'm asking you to vote against this curriculum until we can look more closely at outcome number 4. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So with no one else asking to conduct, I'm just going to open it to the floor. Any comments, thoughts, questions that you'd like to have of the staff, or just thoughts of what you'd like to comment on? I'm opening it up to anyone. So I'll go first. If nobody wants to talk, I'll go. I don't want to be the first person, but if you guys would like to go, please.
Go ahead.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to say. First of all, again, thank you for presenting this and being very coherent. From what I'm looking at and the analysis and the crosswalk, what you see is a development from what was to what is. And I think Dr. Kempke made a really good point about talking about historical empathy, talking about critical thinking, talking about a deeper sense of analysis, a more sophisticated language, using a depth of knowledge, using push-pull factors. All these are historical important facts and important ways to analyze information. I don't think, and all due respect to our speakers in the past and what's happened and what the discussion was, I think the essential element here is you're going into more depth and you're taking something at what I can see in the content conclusions in 2018 to just a more in-depth level as an instructor, as a historian, as a history teacher of 8th grade, 7th grade. I see the level in which the steps are deeper. I mean, when we talk about Common Core, we're talking about same concepts, but at a more intellectual deep level as you climb the stairs, so to speak. Nothing's really changed. You're just doing it at a more sophisticated level. And I think that's what came to pass when I see this crosswalk. And really, it helped me answer some questions for myself. You know, I wasn't drawn to one way or the other, but this helped me clarify and crystallize that this course of study is important to go to the next level. So I really appreciate that. I've made some changes in my thinking a little bit. I was actually listening to some of what was happening last time and some of the concerns, but this really has helped me kind of move forward and really see that as a course of study that we really are talking about where we need to go. So thank you for that. And I just want to appreciate to the staff and everyone who put this together. So thank you. Okay, I'm done. Bob,
I just one well, maybe hopefully one question in terms of the guideline. What is it? Course of study. What's the expectation when you put our course of study together in terms of the state guideline? Is that should that mirror one for one? Are there expectations, or is it not unusual for us to have outcomes that are maybe not in the state recommendations?
So we align to the state framework and the content standards of the state with this course of study. The premise that one of the outcomes is not aligned to that, I think could be a matter of debate. And I don't know if that's necessarily what I would want to go into, but we expect our courses of study, and this one is aligned to the high school social studies instructional framework, as well as the content standards. And as a person that did major in history, I'd also say that it's probably easy to go into some debate around how we word things. And I think that's part of what has, that we've started to talk about. But I would say all of this is aligned to state framework and the content standards.
Thank you. You know, one thing, and just in my consideration, I'm just looking at US history as the topic and what we're focusing on. And I honestly am waiting, you know, in terms of ethnic studies and the outcomes. I am just not considering that as part of any action I'm taking here. Although we do need to finish up our work on ethnic studies. And in terms of, you know, comments, you know, we've heard a lot of comments on a lot of things that I don't know that the people were authorized. It may have been emotional. It's a lot of different things because those were, you know, it were really emotional conversations. But I think we just got through talking about rowing the boat and steering the boat. And I think, you know, we're up here to make sure we're steering, you know, or at least he's steering, and we're all breathing down his neck to make sure it's right. So
good analogy. All right. Anyone else? Do we want to make a motion? I'm gonna call.
I'm not
No.
going to make a motion. I'm going to make comments.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So first I want to just say that when Craig Childress got on earlier and talked about how maybe we weren't being respectful of the teachers, it might have been me, and I apologize. I have actually since then, or since that study session, spoken to a few different history teachers because I wanted to get their opinion of what's on the ground. How does the course of study impact your teaching on the ground? And I have a lot of respect for the teachers in our district. And I think, well, I'll just read my comments because if I don't, it's going to take longer than if I just read it probably.
That's fine.
Okay. After going through the exercise of comparing and contrasting in detail both documents, there are a lot of things I like about both. Both align with the California framework in that they are inclusive of major events in US history. They reflect the four major themes of the framework, the state framework, and they allow for greater inclusivity of historically marginalized perspectives. They both allow for the teacher to apply the state framework areas of emphasis: content, inquiry, literacy, and citizenship. They both make use of essential or thematic questions. In the end, I think both have strengths. I would like to call that out. With either document, skilled teachers will use their expertise to teach a balanced, inclusive, stimulating, and academically rigorous course. What I'm gathering from the teachers, both from the study session and others that I've talked to, is that this document itself isn't referenced all that much unless a teacher is new. What I have also gathered from these discussions is that most teachers can't fit in all the material they're expected to cover in a year, and they have to make choices. All of this is to say, we place a great amount of trust in our teachers in using their judgment and performing their craft. Those who support the new version say that it is needed in order for students to see themselves in the history and to avoid an outdated, whitewashed version that shies away from exposing ugly parts of the past. To them, I would say I agree with those two principles. The 2016 state framework update has solved for this, and it is already reflected in our 2018 course revision. In addition, I have great trust in our teachers' commitment to balance and inclusion of historically marginalized people. They have already demonstrated this commitment in practice. This was evident in the study session and from other teachers I've talked to. The current course of study from 2018 does not impose these limits or biases. The district goal that directed this process states that the district will review the course for bias and revise as needed. In my opinion, this goal has been met. Those who oppose the new version find great strength in the current course. They also express concern that, as one parent put it, the proposed version loses some important aspects of the basic fundamental teaching of US history and replaces it with a modern political and social analysis which should come in other classes like government or ethnic studies or in college, where their analysis would be based on the foundational information learned in a U.S. history survey course, which this is. On this point, I agree. Others may disagree. That's why there's 5 of us. But on this point, I agree. Students need to learn the fundamental core events of modern history in high school without the filter of power and privilege that is appropriate in ethnic studies. This is a reason why we have a required standalone ethnic studies course and an advanced ethnic studies elective, as Trustee Chavez pointed out at the last study session. I can understand the argument to carry this theme throughout the whole social science sequence, as is the stated intention of the social science department, but I disagree with it. That notion was never formally brought before or approved by the board. History is its own discipline. Both presentations by Dr. Lee helped me better understand the distinctions of history and ethnic studies. 2 of the 4 student outcomes in the proposed version for U.S. history are already addressed in the American context within the ethnic studies courses. One of these, number 4, that our guest speaker mentioned, is not based on the state content standards for history. The concept of hegemony. I would also argue that students should be empowered to challenge all narratives, both dominant and revisionist, which furthers critical understanding and the search for truth. For these reasons, I much prefer the language and intent of the student outcomes that are more appropriate to a general history course from the current version than the proposed version. I also prefer the broader, neutral language and intent of the 4 essential questions from the state's framework. Those are not in either of the versions, but I like the way they are in the state's framework. The need for understanding the democratic ideals of the founding were brought up in the study session. These are included in state standards for multiple grades because they are so fundamental to students' understanding of history and developing their citizenship. This course this allows for the students to track changes in expression of these ideals through history. And I want to be sure that they are given adequate airtime. Teachers may assume that these were already covered in 8th grade and will be again covered in 12th grade, and so they skip over them in 11th grade. But I really would like to see them reviewed in 11th grade. It's part of the standards as well. This is also important for ELD students, like we just talked about, who didn't receive that foundation in 8th grade. Maybe they just came to this country a year ago, and they need to understand those founding ideals. When referencing the democratic ideals in essential question A, something felt off to me. Liberty and justice for all are the only ones listed, and the phrasing isn't actually a democratic ideal found in the founding documents. The phrase is from the Pledge of Allegiance written in the late 1800s. This error underscores the importance of understanding the ideals found in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Natural rights versus rights bestowed by a government, social contract and popular sovereignty versus authoritarianism and tyranny, limited government versus big government, and federalism versus central party rule. The same debates that framed the founding have been rehashed throughout U.S. history and are very much the same debates we face as a society today. Last paragraph. Our role as trustees is to set the vision and expectations. As part of that vision, my hope and intention is that students will come away feeling represented, that this is their history, like in our, what do you call it, that you read at the beginning for the Arab Americans, the proclamations, that this is their history, everybody's history, we all share it. And with an overall sense of gratitude and hope for America. I hope they will celebrate its incalculable contribution to freedom and prosperity throughout the world, while also acknowledging, learning from, and committing to correct where it has and still falls short in delivering its ideals. This is the tone the state framework gives in its concluding paragraph. It's a beautiful statement and exactly the tone I would want and expect for this course. I won't read it because I know we're short on time, but Unfortunately, the proposed course has selectively edited that statement to omit what makes America so special and distinctive among all nations throughout history, and instead only laments the social justice issues of today. This overly critical stance should not represent the tone of the course. I would wholeheartedly support the proposed version with some adjustments to this effect. That's all.
Anyone else? I think you need to put your mic on.
Thank you. I forgot. I'm tired. I wrote some notes last night and I hope that I can read my writing. I think you typed yours, so you're better, smarter. Okay, I'm gonna read some of my thoughts, just some. I'll keep this brief. Brevity's gonna become one of my strong points one of these days. I feel like we've rushed this the last 2 weeks, but I realize that that's just my perception because we've in the district, they've actually been discussing this for the past year. I'm just catching up now. I have reviewed and analyzed the documents for the proposed new course of study, and I've also had discussions with U.S. history teachers at my daughter's school. I was very fortunate that a couple of social science teachers are part of the school site council, and I took some of their time after the school site council meeting just to ask a few questions. So that really helped, as well as meeting with Dr. Kemke and Superintendent Booker to address my questions. And I've also read concerns that were emailed to the board and also the emails requesting that the board approve the new curriculum as it is. I want to thank everyone for providing the board with their comments, their thoughts, and their questions and their concerns. The crosswalk was really helpful in comparing the overview of structures, the course description, foundational ideals, historical interpretation. So I want to thank Dr. Kemke and your entire staff who worked on that. I also appreciate the study task force. I appreciate that I also appreciate that the study task force consisted of representatives from all comprehensive school sites. I think that is super important. I do agree with Mr. Childress's comment earlier about how amazing our teachers are, because they really are. So asking questions was not, and asking questions for understanding was in no way intended to, what's the word, not appreciate or question what our teachers were teaching. While I might have felt this was rushed during the last couple of weeks, it's actually been in development for the past couple of years, or especially during the last year. That's kind of the notes I wrote. I just wanted to thank staff for the time that they spent. I know that the questions that I had and the questions that the board had, as well as a lot of the public comments and the emails we received. I know staff worked really hard to make sure that those questions were addressed. So I do want to thank staff. The study session took a bit of time last week, and as well as putting together the walk. So I don't have any further questions. I just want to thank staff, thanks the teachers, and I do really appreciate the fact that we had the study task force that was developed or put together about a year ago, or would you say 2 years ago, put together, and it included staff from all school sites. So I appreciate that fact as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have just one
Go
thing to
ahead.
say. So, in hearing everything in the past, I guess 2 meetings that we've had already, we have to remember what our purview is as a board. We are here to approve a course of study and not the actual day-to-day operation of how the teachers are teaching it. So in reading the governing code or core, it just reminded me of what our purpose is. And on that page 34 of what all of the decisions that we make, what the ripple effects will be later. So I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. It's late. Is there any, are you going to say?
I was actually going to say something, but so just so Jen, I really appreciated what you had to say. I really understood. I love the first part of what you were saying. I am going to take measure to talk about as an educator who's taught different grade levels. I know what 5th grade looks like. I know what 8th grade looks like. I know what 11th grade looks like for US history. And you make a very good point when you say, what's about people who are coming into the United States and English learners, and they need to know certain history. But again, by the same token, you want those students to be able to connect somehow to the history. And that's one of the point of views that is coming across in some of what is being talked about, and why the course of study has that historical empathy in there. I would challenge one thing that I think is very important. And I hear that we still want to teach the fundamentals and what's great about our country, and I would agree with that. But by the time you get to 11th grade, you want to have students question things, no matter what, no matter which point of view. And so in my mind, I think we're getting to a more intellectual level with 11th graders to be able to really look at it at a challenging way and say what is right and what is wrong. And I think historically, we haven't done that to the degree that we should. And so I think it concerns people that we're going into this depth of disagreement or argument, or that it's about homogeny, or it's about questioning power structures, and we're not really teaching the fundamentals of what's good about our country. But I think we still do that. And I think listening to our teachers, again, I really feel that that's still a strength in what we teach, but it's also going to that next level of questioning. And I think that's something that I think education should be all about. And so I don't want to deny that. And in my mind, I really am going to go with this because, again, I really want to thank all the people who've worked on this so hard and really helped us out with, especially the crosswalk, where we talk about the descriptions of where it goes and what. Maybe we need to revise this at some point in time, but I think this is a really great point of view, and I want to challenge this. So I want to go with this. So that's my point of view, and I hope we can continue to do that. I really appreciated emails from both sides, and I've looked at that and I've read all of them, and I appreciate it. But looking deeper into the course of study, I want to approve it. So I'm at that point. So if we want to make a motion or entertain a motion, we can go with it and see where the sure.
I just wanted to say, I just want to thank, I know I've thanked staff for everything, but I want to thank my colleagues too for having a very robust conversation the last couple of weeks about this, and allowing everyone to ask questions and talk through it. Because when I read the CSBA, I know all of us love the California School Board Association, and it does say serving as a board member. This is from a link I have that I was looking this up last week just to make sure we're on the right path, right? And it says one of our board's responsibilities is setting a direction for and adopting the curriculum. So we're held accountable for the curriculum, and I think that all of us bring our unique lens together as a governance team. And I just want to say thank you for all my colleagues, because we're working together to understand this and to talk through it. And just want to thank you for your patience with that. And I think it's great.
Excellent.
I will
All right.
move to approve the proposed U.S. history curriculum.
Okay, there's a
as
motion.
is.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by trustee Andrade Zuniga, a second by trustee Griffin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not sure of the count. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call roll call for a vote. So trustee Jacobson, what is your vote?
No.
Trustee Chavez, what is your vote?
Aye.
Trustee Griffin, what is your vote?
Aye.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga, what is your vote?
Aye.
And my vote is aye as well. So the final vote is 4-1. Okay, thank you very much. That
Thank
is
you.
it for tonight. On that, we are moving into
Graduation.
graduation. All right. I don't know if Char's going to take this one on or Superintendent Booker. So I'll let you.
I can quickly. So
Thank you.
we just need to determine which trustee is going to which graduation event, because some of them overlap. And we want to make sure we're organized so I can tell, or I can communicate to school sites who will be in attendance, so we can make accommodations and make sure our programs are correct and all those kinds of things. So trustee Land, as President Land, as we discussed this prior and as what's attached to the board agenda, we have trustee Chavez attending two graduations at the same time on the same day. So we're gonna have to adjust that.
I was gonna offer if I could help her with Hillsdale, if
we
you want to do
have-
Aragon or Hillsdale.
Can we present it?
Can we project it? Could we do that?
I think
Sorry.
we can.
Is that possible?
Lucy, is it possible to project the attachment on
I'm
this
having a problem
particular
getting
item?
online, so I can't look at my agenda.
Can you share my screen and I can do it?
There you go, Shar.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeehaw. Sorry, I tried to get on Wi-Fi and I couldn't.
It's okay.
So to solve Trustee Chavez's problem, Trustee Lihia, were you gonna change with?
Well, I only have one. I have a cap, and so I was going to offer to Trustee Chavez if she wants some help that I could help her with one of them. If you'd like my help. It's up to you though.
Yeah.
I don't care either way. Really.
Well, why don't I propose this? You can have either one, and then maybe we could both, is it wrong for two trustees to be together like a cappuccino?
Well,
'Cause I know a lot of,
they're at the same time.
They're
they're
at the
not,
same time.
cappuccino and Hillsdale are not at the same time. I was just saying. If
Oh,
you want to
I
take one of
see.
them, either one, Aragon or Hillsdale, I love all of our schools equally. And then if I wanted to help you with cappuccino, we could both be there at the same time.
Oh, I
And we
see.
would have a shortened part of what we
So-
say, so we're both like involved. So that way
So-
we both have 1.5 schools,
Yeah, so Lihia, what she's suggesting is, do you want to take Aragon or Hillsdale?
either one.
Versus cappuccino.
Versus cappuccino?
No. Or I said keep cappuccino,
Or
we could do
state
that jointly together.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
offering because they're both at 5:30.
Right, I know. And I think
Would
for that.
you, would you, so Lihia, would you take Aragon? Oh, have you done Hillsdale?
I have not.
Have you done Aragon?
I have not.
So pick one that you want and then.
Because I'm
Then she'll do the other
neutral.
one.
Okay, Hillsdale, it's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
that kind of makes sense, huh? So, yeah, so Lihia would do Hillsdale, you'll do Aragon and cappuccino. She'll do cappuccino as well, and you
Do you wanna
both
do
share
cappuccino
cappuccino
jointly?
together.
Sure. sure.
Okay,
Did you
how's
go
that
last
work?
time?
That solve the problem?
Make sure I got it. So trustee Zuniga Andrade is going to go to Hillsdale while trustee Chavez is going to be at the Aragon. And both of you will be going to Cappuccino, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everyone else going to go to your assigns? I need to let the front offices know. So, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I don't know your roles at each of them, so I'll have the school reach out to each of you. Sometimes you're in the audience, sometimes each school does it differently, so.
Okay.
Sometimes you're doing diplomas, sometimes you're doing a speech.
And we could still
Ask.
attend each other's. I mean,
That's true.
we
could
don't
do
have to like not go. or-
Oh, yeah. But
Yeah.
you're kind of in the forefront when
Right,
you're on
right.
the list. And in the program. Yeah. All right. It's not 11 o'clock yet. Do you guys want to talk about something else?
No,
Just kidding.
about going home.
Just kidding.
Maybe just future agenda items. We could
Yeah,
spend
well,
20 minutes on
actually,
that.
I was gonna say we should discuss future agenda items.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Nancy McGee coming to our meeting. Is she coming in May by any chance?
No, and I can put all that in a weekly again. It'll
Thank
most likely be June.
Great. And then if we could have a report, Kirk, could you give us a report on the exit interviews by any chance? Like in a weekly or something like that?
Staff exit interviews, correct?
Yeah.
Staff
just-
exit interviews.
Just like, I'm curious to know why, what the issues are why people leave, good or bad. Mhm.
Okay. Are you for teachers or classified or both?
Anybody that leaves. Yeah, like is there something that like we could advocate for in our district, like housing or cost of living, or I don't know what, so.
I think we can start that in a weekly and
Yeah,
then see where it
the
goes from
weekly
there.
is fine. Yeah.
Kind of along the same lines, the discussion with, and I know you sent an email
Yeah.
about Peninsula.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
either a discussion or a nice little talk from you or an email from you
Yeah.
about what's going on, because I think we
Yeah.
have some concerns and I think we need to figure
Yeah,
out what to
there's
do with that.
definitely
Happy
some
to.
concerns.
Good.
Yeah. So on those lines, President Lynn, I was gonna mention, because we've received the emails and of course the public comment tonight about Peninsula. And I know that it's so true that when there's public comment for non-agendized items, the board can't engage in it. That's due to the Brown Act. But if we were to agendize that, then folks could come and ask questions and we could answer that. But then that's not really what a board meeting is for. Then we could either have that at a board meeting or a community meeting, just so the community can come and ask questions, because now that a lot of the community has heard those statements made during public comment, they might have those same questions as well. Why would we be reducing teachers at Peninsula? So I'm not sure.
So I guess-
So whatever Superintendent Booker feels is the best method to get the information out.
And I guess just to reiterate what I just said was, I was asking him to let us start the conversation with an email to us so that we can
Us.
determine later on if we want to push for a meeting or not, based on what he's going to tell us in his.
I just want to make sure the community has the information, not just the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they feel heard, I think.
I think-
Because the community definitely heard the public comments tonight.
I think we need to be careful because again, we're not the ones let's talk
Right.
about governance. You're in
Right.
the balcony.
Mhm.
And just a reminder where he's on the stage. So
Absolutely.
it's, let's start with talk to us
All right.
and then
Right.
we can,
We still make sure those in the audience know what's happening. Yeah.
yeah.
The other thing I noticed
Put your mic.
I don't know that I want this.
Yeah.
We actually made,
Too late.
we actually made a request of staff directly when it's the superintendent that actually works for us. And I think most of our stuff should go through.
Oh, all of it should go
Correct.
through. Yeah.
Exactly. So at this point in time, I definitely hear what you're saying and I don't disagree with you. I think we just start with,
Yeah.
Superintendent Booker. He'll let us know how things are going, what he's thinking, giving us information, and then we can move for there and say, hey, we need to have a meeting about.
Right. And
blah,
ask
blah, blah.
Superintendent Booker if he feels that it would be good on the agenda or good as a community meeting or a community outreach.
We'll let you
Or
decide
just a
that.
community newsletter, you know.
Absolutely. And I just want to let the board know, I do meet regularly with the Peninsula High School staff. I have all
Okay.
year this year. Regardless of what I end up writing to you in a weekly, or if we end up agendizing it, I will be writing directly to the entire staff and I will be meeting with them. So that'll happen anyway.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyone else? On that note, we're adjourned at 10:40-ish. Wait, we forgot something. Just kidding.